Okay, g'day, Stephanie here. Welcome to our inaugural episode of Beyond the Pad. We're trying something new, and please, we welcome any feedback in the comments or in your live chat. We've got Matt on the buttons and knobs, and he'll be keeping an eye out for questions in chat. So be sure to direct some questions at us, and we'll definitely try and get them answered. I've got Alex with us today as one of the other main presenters. Go, Alex.
G'day. Hello, everybody.
And we've got Ryan Webber from NSF as well with us today. G'day, Ryan. It's always good to have you on board.
How's it going, everyone? Yeah, get to see if we can go more in depth, which you've got me and Alex, so yeah.
So on this episode, we're free to go down rabbit holes, and we're free to spend a bit more time than the normal shows. So it's a bit more of a loose format, so we're quite open to digressing wherever we want to. We don't have to stick directly to the 4 different sites in this show. But we are going to start at Massey's and just talk about a couple of things at Massey's first, though. And then from then on, we're going to open the chat up to any questions or anything you'd like to hear about specifically. Okay. So I guess with the thing at Massey's is all this steel framework that we've been seeing over the last few weeks. I couldn't quite piece it together at show and tell. A couple of you started to get a good idea even through the show and tell, but since then, the 48 hours, 24 hours even after the show and tell, a lot more ideas came to light about how the frame's put together, and thanks to Chrome Kiwi here, it gives you a bit of an idea. We can see all these bits and pieces around and sort of how they're going to fit together, and I think this is pretty accurate personally.
My final question.
By the QD isn't real, but I don't believe so. But
Go
anyway,
ahead,
sorry
Ryan.
for interrupting you, Ryan.
No worries. My final question will be exactly how tall is this going to be in the end of it all? Because I guess it's kind of a question of how many truss segments are they going to make, and how many they're going to attach together. Because I see 2 theories. One, it goes all the way up to the top of the ship, which, with the way that work platform is set up, I don't think that makes a lot of sense. The other one is it goes right up to the payload bay, so that they can get access to the payload bay hatch through that work platform. And not only that, if they wanted to, they could stick a probe system on that and do like a probe and drug test with 39. Although a fixed structure versus a fixed structure with that is kind of weird for docking, but it maybe just be a fit test, if anything.
So I wonder if these pads here actually line up with the docking, not the ports, but the where they attach to each other, the ships attached to each other. I wonder if they actually line up with that.
I believe the upper ones are closer.
Okay, cool. Just for some kind of clues. Now, something I did notice since this drawing is these 2 pads here. We can see them at the Sanchez, on the Sanchez frame here. With being taller, Ryan, that there would need to be another section, I guess. But for now, I'm saying what you're saying is wrong at all because we don't know. But this distance in here, if you look at a Cybertruck here, and then back over here, it looks like there's definitely the right sort of proportions for this to be sitting on top of that frame, like what's in the in this image here, in this particular area.
I mean, going by the 2 pieces we have, the piece is at Sanchez and the 2 pieces here, pretty sure they're not going to add additional truss sections.
Yeah, that's sort of what I was sort of mentioning to Ryan there. But sure, I mean, we can never rule anything out, obviously. And the extra height, yeah, like I said, Ryan, it's probably not going to be that. But yeah, can I only speculate?
I still want my T-Rex arms to lift the vehicle, but that's just me.
I mean, so build this tower up even more. Do like a support through the back, and then Although it's kind of a weird shape to do a carriage, but put a carriage on it with some arms. There you go. Right?
Yeah, I think it's more or less going to just just a work platform for either around the payload or HLS testing.
It's some
Yeah.
kind of it's some kind of access platform to get to uh, the payload section. And I would guess there's going to be a stairway through the middle of it. So basically, you get up through a stairway, which they haven't built a stairway for it yet. But I figure there's going to be a steel stairway to get up the new gantry, the server structure itself, where the QD is, and then and then they might build a stairway that goes all the way up this to the top of it,
Is that
or
ladder?
or ladder it. That could do it too.
Is that ladder attached to that column? Looks
Kind of
like.
does.
Looks like it there. See, the thing,
Yeah.
only thing about it being a platform is it's way, way overbuilt for a platform. But on the same, like it's really strong to actually do some testing. But in that same breath, it almost seems too flimsy to add a lot of, force. It looks like it's sort of like it's overbuilt there compared to it's kind of flimsy down here a little bit. But it's probably not as flimsy as I'm imagining down here. Perhaps that's a lot stronger than I think down here.
Statics.
Yeah, if you look at the tower trusses on tower cranes, or the trusses they're building for Giga Bay for the columns, and it's
Yeah, okay.
essentially, it's you've made it a box truss.
Yeah, which is pretty dang strong when you design it right.
Yeah,
It's static load math. I used to know how to do that. I don't remember
Static-
it anymore, but
yeah, just kind
it is literally how the load transfers between each column into each joint and into the foundations. And you do it right, any truss can take just about any weight you could think of, depending on the size you make it. And I would expect this thing to actually be a lot stronger than people are thinking it would be by the way it looks, because when you design a box truss like this, it very well transfers the loads. So yeah, it's stronger than people think it is.
yeah.
Yeah, I understand the box truss section. It's just this little bit down here where all that strength has to transfer into these. But once again, I'm probably not. I'm not an engineer by any means, but just by looks. But like I said, it does appears to be much more than a platform anyway. But it's more like something to actually test something solid on the actual ship.
And the nice thing what they did too is instead of having to add a new foundation into this thing, they basically are attaching it through the leg stands of the static fires crab stand. So basically, where it sits on the over the trench, there's pilings that go right there, and there's foundations, and it just ties straight into it. So that's the reason why we didn't see another drill come in and drill something more, is it actually has a good foundation to attach to already.
Yeah, that interface between the diaphragm walls, that grade beam around that opening is I think like 10 or 12 feet by like 4 feet.
Yeah,
It's enormous.
it's a pretty good
Oh.
anchor.
Oh yeah, the anchor down here, that's a massive anchor. It doesn't even go attached down to the walls as well.
Yeah,
There's a massive big beam under there that's also attached to the walls.
that's a diaphragm wall I was referring to.
Yeah.
But-
Yeah, I'm not worried about the attachment. I was only just this little area up here sort of seems look, so it's got a massive amount of leverage, is sort of one thing, like compared to the height. That's all. But like I said, I'm sure it's stronger than I think.
If it's designed right, I mean, pretty much each of those triangle pieces have equal load between them. And yeah, like Ryan, statics was a long time ago.
Oh yeah, I did some early classes in high school for some of
Oh.
that, and did some of that math, and then it never happened again. Let's just go with
Oh.
that.
Yeah, you just I mean, you just point your vectors, tips to tails, and sum it up, but it's a little more involved, but yeah. But
Cool. Pretty glad we've got people like Kiwi on board to put these Tetris things together and give us like a picture speaks 1,000 words. It's not 100% accurate with height and that yet, but it still gives us a really, really good idea. Like I was just counting the cross braces, those yellow pieces. There's 6 of the main ones and 2 of the odd ones. That's exactly what we seem to see here. 6 of the main crosses and 2 of the odd ones. Like this one on top's an odd one, so I imagine they're the ones on these diagonals up here. I guess one up there and one down here.
and then
Back in there, that one back there. Then there's a normal 6 cross braces.
And then there's the weird pieces that probably are for the still at Sanchez.
There's a couple of pieces over here. These pieces, you mean?
Yeah.
Now, are they the pieces that were down over here? Remember those 2 triangle pieces? I thought they were different. They had more cross beams on them. Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's only a minor thing.
Yeah. They're all the same vintage.
So I guess this show was kind of going to be. I could sort of see this show evolving into not only just the other sites, but as we're doing right now, sort of just going back since the show and tell, and since we produced the weekly update video, a lot more things sort of come to light. Because the show and tell, it's sort of we've only just seen the images, and we're sort of speculate a bit. And especially like this is a classic example. Over the following days of since the show and tell, we've learnt a lot more and pieced a lot more things together. I know some of this was crossed on the live stream as well, but I still think this show be a good opportunity to start to bring up some of the things that develop in the days after the show and tell. How's chat going now? I haven't quite had a good chance to look at chat yet, but I've got Matt over there looking at chat. So any questions, you can direct them at Matt and he'll pass them on for us.
Yeah, we've got a few if you'd like.
Sure.
All right. First one's from Andy Alder asking, for fuel transfer ships, will there be tanks in the payload bay? If so, will a third QD be needed?
No. The tanker, a tanker starship is going to be a regular starship with more prop. So my expectation is they will just move the domes for a tanker ship, or they will basically just use the ship that they already have, and they'll just have a little bit more prop on board. Is basically the thing, because you add more domes and more QDs, you add more mass, which means less you can take into orbit. All you need to do is slightly bigger tanks, and you just don't use everything when you get to Leo. That's it, and you just dock and fuel. It's simpler than people think it is.
Disagree, but I think they'll use secondary tanks. Mainly if they're still using, if they're still tapping off the combustion gases for autogenous pressurizations, LOX tanks, you wouldn't want to store contaminated LOX for storage and for performance reasons.
Watch, tanker ships will be all COPV pressurized.
Well, you said you want to get rid of mass and complexity. That just adds a whole host of it back in. We can't win, Ryan.
No. Well, I guess what's the more mass? Secondary tanks with more domes and more reinforcement, or more COPVs for pressurization? What's more complex? Because you have the entire payload area open, basically. Which honestly, for a tanker ship, if I'm gonna be honest, they should like delete 2 rings or delete all 3 rings from the payload bay, basically, or keep 1 ring for the docking and that's it, because the other two rings are pointless. They're just mass and reinforcement you don't need. So you then have the nose cone on top of a single ring and the forward, and then maybe move the forward up slightly and stick a bunch of COPVs in the payload bay, and that's your pressurization system, because you just need to keep it pressurized for flight. That's it. All you need to do for a tanker is they need to be pressurized for the 6.5 minutes of that burn. And once that's done, that's it. You don't need them anymore, because you're just going to do quick deorbit burn with the headers and then land. So
Stubby
I
ship.
there's a couple of options they have to do it.
But tapping off the sump, now you're going to have more mechanical filtering. May or may not have to change sons of geometry. So there's pros and cons of both.
It'll be interesting to see what they do, because that's the other thing is, with secondary tanks, that's a lot of mass to add. Like, because it's domes plus the reinforcement, plus the lines that have to go to them, plus the pressurization for those, because you're going to need COPVs for pressurization for them, because as you empty them, you're going to have to keep them pressurized until they're empty. Then you can vent it out. So that's more COPVs right there. Unless you're going to use autonomous, which then runs into the same problem you're going to run into before. So
Heaters.
Yeah.
You need heaters for the amount of vaporization they're going to need.
It's a lot of...
That's good that there's it's showing two different ways they can do this. That's awesome. And that's a good thing about this these discussions is we can open ourselves up to speculation one way or another. So I really appreciate you showing either one of that. Now onto the SQD. We already know the SQD for tankers. We know about that, don't we, Ryan? Already.
Well, it's gonna have basically a raised QD and a lowered QD almost. For when they dock and mate, more or less, they dock to each other. I'm still curious to see what that particular QD looks like, per se, like the actual, like the transfer QD. It could be the same one. It's just one side has a male side, one side has a female side, kind of like the probe and drogue system. Where I'm trying to remember what the consensus was, is to use, I think it was to have the tankers run the drogue side, and the like depots and whatnot to run the probe side when it's all said and done. Because unless you want to mix them up, which would be kind of odd to do, you kind of want to keep one side to the other and one side to the other if you're going to use a male and female, unless you're going to go to an androgynous system, which presents a whole other load of fun. But yeah,
it's like a modification of the docking port on ISS. Using a flat plate like that and claws, yeah.
And those ports, by the way, those ports are going to be at the bottom of the ship, aren't they, Ryan?
Yeah, they should be around the same QD, because the lines are already running there. There's no need to, otherwise you're putting the QD somewhere else with more reinforcement, running more lines. They're going to try their best in any way, shape, or form to reduce the amount of mass that they're going to put on this vehicle, because the more mass you put on ship, for every extra pound you stick on that starship is 1 pound less you can take to space. It's a 1-for-1 conversion ratio on that. So if they need an extra 10 tons on there to be able to store more stuff or do more things, that's 10 less tons they can take into low Earth orbit as payload. It becomes just dry, useless mass at that point, and you don't want that. So they're going to try their best to limit that as much as possible.
And what part of the tank are they going to use? It's the sump. The other, how it'll be plumbed as well.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. I hope a tanker blows up somewhere so we can see inside it. You know, like at 36. We learned a lot about 36 when it blew up. We learned a lot about Block 2's ship.
We learned a whole lot about Block 3 boosters.
Yeah, that's true. I'll take a as much as people don't want it, I'll take a tanker failure during gas system testing to rip it open and see inside it. I'll take that.
Definitely.
It won't damage the site. Yes, it'll be a loss of a vehicle, but then we can see inside it. So it's like the best of both worlds, kind of.
It's a win-win.
It's a win-win. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
But maybe
yeah,
we
like
can have a backup ready.
Yeah,
don't have to
yeah.
wait
Make
long
sure
for
they
the
have a backup
replacement.
ready.
Have a backup.
Yeah, yeah.
right. Yeah, I mean, to Ryan's point about using the main tanks, tapping off the main drain port would be the easiest for that QD, since it is the low point of the tank, and they're going to have to be slightly thrusting to settle the propellant to move it.
Okay, I think that pretty well answered that question. Thanks, Matt. What else is going on in
absolutely.
chat?
It actually answered a few other questions as well. Some of the other ones are just speculation. Could it be for payload bay for HLS? Another one is, does it tilt back for the ship when it static fires? Which I'm pretty sure that's an absolute no, right?
That'd be kind of
Hard no
cool.
right
Like
now.
it did a tilt back like a transporter erector.
Oh.
My thought right off the bat, it wasn't really a thought, it was more of a joke, is they'll load Starlinks at the static fire stand at Massey's with the box. It'll have a crane on it for the Starlinks. That was my stupid idea. We'll go with that. It was fun, but yeah.
And then another question is, any chance this new truss structure could be there to serve the booster? They are building a new crab stand, so maybe it's a booster stand.
Booster would melt this trench.
Oh, in instant?
Ain't that the truth?
Like, well, maybe not in an instant. It might take a few seconds, but it would melt it.
And then another
think they
question
can
is... Sorry.
Go on. No.
Okay, the next question is, will the test stand be movable or fixed?
The new frame? The new frame is very much attached. It's not attached to the static fire stand. I guess we should clear that up, actually. It's only attached to the pedestals of the static fire stand. So the static fire stand, which is actually moved, hasn't it? The static fire stand's actually been moved now, hasn't it?
It's off to the side now. It moved after 6 months.
Yeah. So yeah, it's not actually attached to the static fire stand. It's actually attached to its pedestals, which we were just talking about before the show. Actually, that's we're talking about during the show. Sorry, that's some very seriously strong attachment points they got going on down there because of the amount of concrete underneath.
Yeah, for that static fire stand, it's literally finished the walkway around it. There's the railings on the stairs, and then they'll have to install the RVAC, the mounts for the RVAC stiffeners again, if they haven't already done that since this, and then tidy it up, repaint it, and it should be good to go. It just needs a ship then.
Repaint it.
It was a hope, not a certainty.
Okay.
Clarify that.
Thank you. I was getting worried for a second. I'm like, who kidnapped Ryan?
I mean, painting things is nice. It's the one nice thing that it's. I mean, it was. I think the thing that was too funny is after the first flight of Block 2, SpaceX gave up on painting Pad 1. They just gave up. It's like, nah, we don't care.
Yeah, I like giving Zach a hard time about, because it was right after his episode where he's talking about that was one of the tells when they start repainting it. They never repainted it since.
They only repainted the tower. I think for it was Flight 10 and 11 is what they repainted the tower cladding, the lower cladding, because the tower just used to be bare concrete. Then they realized that blasting a bunch of rocket exhaust at it wasn't exactly the smartest idea, so they then welded a bunch of plates to it. Then they painted the plates, and that's the only thing they painted on that pad after 10 flights.
All right, and last question for this area. Do we think they will use the same header tank setup in future starships as in the new boosters to make way for nose-mounted docking port as shown in missed renders?
I think the headers are going to stay where they are simply because of CG reasons. They can move them away on HLS because HLS doesn't need header tanks. Because it'll do its descent burns and everything, but when it comes down to the final landing on the moon, it'll use its separate HLS thrusters. For ships in landing on Mars or landing back on Earth, it's going to need headers, and I think they're going to keep that for mass reasons up in the nose. It isn't really usable space up there anyways, unless it were like a crewed vehicle. You could stick some stuff up in there, but there's already a bunch of CUPVs and a bunch of other stuff up there. It can't really be moved anywhere else on the ship, so my expectation is the top half of the nose cone will just stay for headers, CUPVs, avionics, motors, all that other fun jazz for the future.
Yeah, what Ryan said. And it's somewhat structural into the nose.
Yeah.
And dock from the side.
It's literally the tip. The tip of the nose is literally the tip of the header. So
Awesome. Yeah. And want to say thank you to Wilbo Baggins for a £2 super chat, and Just Martin for sending 6 RGV gifted memberships. Thank you so much, guys.
Awesome.
Steph, could you, if you 9018 the shot, if you have it, it's looking over towards a white tank where the Tesla megapacks are. Yeah, that one. If you zoom in by the white tank, the 4 pipe stands, like the legs, are those for the new static fire stand?
Yeah.
Because they look different for some.
Or you know what? Those might be the old pipe stands that were, remember, because they were sitting off to the side of the trench for a while.
Yeah.
A long time ago. Those might be back over there because they moved the stand again.
Okay. Yeah, because I was trying to figure out if they did anything to the base plate where they're welding on this new contraption.
Quick question, sorry, Matt, is that so they've already moved the static bar stand, so the new framework is not going to impede on SPMTs travelling, getting underneath here. So the SPMT is going to be fine to get underneath here. That's just going to work as normal. It's just all attached up to the sides. So there's nothing in the front. There's not going to be any framework across the front here or anything. So it's just so it's clear that the static bar stand is clear to come out, which it already has been taken out. So we already know that's not a problem.
Oh, I just noticed one of those dumpsters sitting next to a dumpster, or as other people like to call it, a Cybertruck. I noticed there's the 2 stiffener braces for the landing tanker sitting in a dumpster. 8974. It's like right next to all the static fire there, right in the dumpster. You can see the 2 like middle screen. You can see the 2 braces, and can I have that dumpster? I'll take all the stuff that's in it.
Oh, there's all sorts of things. Is that the main rib on the side that brace attaches to?
It might be.
Looks like it, similar, if not.
And that's the bits of downcomer, perhaps. Oh, there's so many things. Yeah, right. Correct, Ryan. That's exactly right. Yeah, some of these dumpsters, yeah, for sure. You'd love to go dumpster diving in some of this stuff, for sure. Totally agree. No shame there at all.
Mission Impossible. Let's go.
It'd be more of a let's just hijack the truck when they're hauling it away.
Yeah, right.
Chad, I'm really impressed with Chad. We're getting got a good turnout, and we've got some good activity I can see there going on in chat, and some good questions and some conversation. That's awesome. Good on you. Appreciate your support and appreciate you showing up and having listened to us.
Absolutely. And we just have one last question real quick before we move on. Forge Gamer asks, when you mentioned having the depot QD be male and tankers be female, wouldn't that cause problems with fueling on the pad with the SQD?
Give that one up to Ryan again.
Trying to remember because I just forgot what I even said before. But anyway, we don't really. I guess the statement is we don't really know what the QD is going to look like on a tanker versus the depot. We can kind of speculate, but basically the depot will have to be able to plug into a tanker, and I wouldn't be surprised if the depot had I kind of also expect the depot to have connections on both sides because it's only going to stay up in space. So basically, you can hook in a tanker on either side of it to unload to it. Would be my expectation at some point. So maybe one's at. You still need a QD on it to hook in to the pad for the initial launch, and then a QD that can hook to the tankers.
I imagine two separate QDs, one for the in-flight docking and one for ground filling on the tanker, and then a depot. Well, it doesn't. Well, it'll have to have it too to actually launch, won't it? Because the depot has to launch. So
yeah, it'll probably be one above the other or something like that.
So go ahead, Todd.
Switches and they can fill from the QDs. Why does it have to be a separate one? Something like a plenty of balance that they can make.
The plumb for the supply for if the depot wants, depending where the QD is filling, you wouldn't necessarily want it pulling from the same location, because if you look at 18, they're just sort of letting the locks go wherever it wants. If you're trying to pull from that, you would have to continue that pipe all the way down to the sump and then close off any of the auxiliary paths that it could go. So it adds some plumbing complexities that may or may not be accounted for. If that makes
Couldn't they follow the
sense.
same detanking process they do when the ship is on or the booster's on the pad and they abort?
I don't know how deep they're detanking, because there is a sump and there is unrecoverable volume in all of these vehicles.
Yeah,
they do have a dead pool.
If the pipe were to go down to a sump and hook straight into that sump, then in theory they could pull everything out. But you don't necessarily want to pull everything out because there's stuff that's still in the tank that kind of settles to the bottom. You don't really want to pull that in necessarily.
Yeah.
So there's a reason why the filters are there anyways. You like to think everything is perfectly clean and nice and tidy, but that's not always the case with rockets. You keep them as clean as you can, but there's always still stuff in the tanks. My expectation is it basically it's a pipe that runs just above the sump and it starts to just fill it as it goes up. So when you detank, you're pulling it out, but there's always that residual that just gets boiled off and vented off anyways, or gets boiled off into gas and then you recapture the gas rather than trying to take all the liquid out all at the same time. You're always going to have, as Alex is saying, you're always going to have unrecoverable stuff.
Yeah, and you wouldn't want it, because like Ryan was alluding to, it's nasty.
Well, they are hiring a tank cleaning guy or the Starship cleaning crew or something. I can't remember what to put. So maybe it will get clean.
And that's one of the reasons why they do cryos, too.
Yeah.
A cryo is a great way to clean out a tank. It's a great way to do it.
Does lots of good things for the tanks. Yeah, it's the other, when they're venting the ship right after the main burn, it's also to help blow out a lot of the crud that's in the bottom of the tanks before it gets a chance to just sort of enjoy 0G and just float around, spreading all the nastiness all over the surface. Technical terms.
Yeah.
That's a bit low res.
I still want to know what because we're seeing a tanker and an HLS here, although although this is supposedly a depot, but to me it's like I really think a depot is going to be, it'll be decently bigger. I think it'll be all painted all white, probably with a set of insulation on it as well, along with solar panels. And all that kind of stuff. Literally anything they need to be able to keep the propellant as cold as possible for as long as possible. And then a whole power. Of course, you got to keep power on the thing as well. It'd be really cool if they could find a way to recondense propellant, but the power and area that would take to do such a thing is not really practical at all, unless you build a massive space station to do it with.
You put a Stirling engine in it and use it as a cryo cooler. There's the amount of boil off rate. I mean, the biggest issue is you have the sun, you have long wave radiation coming from Earth. You have a lot of heat sources hitting the sides of that tank. And figure out what that rate is, and then that's about the coolers that you would need, at least as a starting off point.
Okay, so that's pretty well the dockings. I didn't realize that was going to go there, but that's good. That's what the show's all about. We can go up on various little rabbit holes like that. That's awesome. Thanks, Chet, for the questions, and thanks, Ryan and Alex, for the answers.
Yep, and just a real quick thank you to Tim Chance for 5 more gifted memberships.
Well, nice turnout in chat. Yeah, I'm really impressed. Goodness. Okay, now I did plan to talk a little bit about the cryo system here at Massey's, or in general. Just let me find my page here.
And by the way, while we're talking about Massey's here, 18.1, for those of you that don't know, is getting tested for its 11th time. It's been there since, what was it, May 10th? It'd be funny if it stays there for over a year.
That's not part of the super crusher? That tank isn't part of the super crusher?
Yeah, I thought it was one big structure now.
Yeah, it might, and it might have fused in by now. So yeah, it might not. It might actually be the super crusher now.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
That's La Padre's Rocket Ranch camera for sure. Give La Padre a like and follow over there on his YouTube channel. Actually, while we're here, it looks like 39.1 is getting removed from its cryo station as well.
That's too quick of a cryo campaign. I'm sorry, it's too quick. No, too quick. Way too quick. That needs at least another 6 to 7 cryos.
6 to 7 months.
6 to 7 cryos over the course of the next 4 months. Yes. B18.1 has got 11 cryos in the last 7-8 months or so. B18.3 has been out there since the last 3 months, and it's got 8 cryos. It's too quick and it's too little cryos. It needs more. Sorry. I don't make the rules, SpaceX. It needs more.
I'm just curious how they're removing it, because that's all welded and bolted down to that stand.
I wonder if they're going to take the ring. Isn't it welded to a ring that's bolted to the stand? Maybe they can unbolt the ring and leave it with the ship. I mean, with the article.
Yeah, it'll come off, but it's just wiser doing it. It's more
because they built that thing to be can crushed. Where are you going to can crush it? Like the two places that can't crush it are being occupied right now. One of them isn't even modified to be able to do it yet, and that's where 18.3 is sitting. The other one is doing another cryo, and not only that, that's set up for booster. Like, you would have to take 18. You'd have to disconnect everything from 18.1. Then you'd have to take all of the actuators out and redo them for a ship setup, and then put 39.1 in, and then hook the crusher up. So, like, my question is if you want to can crush this thing, and my expectation is you'd want to do that before you launch this rocket. Where are you going to do it?
Oh, you're just
On the
jumping
stand.
into wild conclusions, testing, Ryan. Come on.
If they want to do it before they launch the next one.
Okay.
I said if. I gotta paraphrase it because SpaceX has definitely done testing and launch before they tested things. That's what happened with S-24. They static fired it before they tested the aft and nearly crumpled the aft section. They also, luckily, they tested Booster 4's aft before they really went ahead with. They got too far with 7 and 9 because they crumpled the booster as well.
Whoops.
But Webby, why can't they use one of the new stands that they're creating that looks like it's for testing thrust box, testing thrust and stuff?
Which one?
You mean this one here? That's the transport stand. Is what you're talking about?
Oh, those are transport
Yeah.
stands.
They have a couple more, right? That they're building out.
Those are
Yeah.
ship transport stands for moving ships around, storing them, and stacking them. They're not for thrust sims.
Well, the old booster one, or was that the ship one that's sitting by the Lux tanks at Massey, that they added the booster clamps to? Yeah,
Yeah, the old booster one.
yeah.
Which they
I-
haven't touched that in a while either.
No. Conceivably, they can modify that one.
Like
Have
they could modify.
this to go? Have they modified this to go on the new adapters on the SPMTs? Have they?
No, that's the old adapters that I think was it BJ was trying to.
Oh,
Well,
those
everybody
circular
for-
ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So,
In
Ryan, what
theory-
about sitting 39.1 up on top of 18.1?
They could do
Please.
that if they really wanted to. I
Please.
have no idea if 30. Well, actually, no, they actually can't because 39.1 is
clamps.
welded to the plates. So they can't really do that and whatnot. And even if it wasn't welded, that thing does not have ship clamps. They'd have to install those, and 39.1 likely doesn't have the interface for those clamps on its aft. But one
Agreed.
way or the other, it's welded to the plate, so they can't really do that.
Bolt the plates together. Yeah, this one's spectacular. If you look how much more
It's a lot of
robust
welds.
that is compared to 18 point whatever, the booster. Just to
Like, that's some serious welding they did. All they did with 18.3 is they just welded it to the plates. They put a boatload of reinforcements on that one.
I mean, this one looks like it's had the date was a crusher.
Yeah, it almost looks like it got flattened slightly.
Yeah, it's it looks like there's a bunch more stringers in those lower rings, so it at least feels like a crushing victim.
Cool. Yeah, it's pretty impressive how much. So some people talking in the background. Pretty impressive how well that's welded down.
I wonder. I'm wondering when the next, because we've only seen a singular ship QD for Block 3. I do wonder when the next one's going to show up. Like, because you're going to need one for the cryo stand. You're going to need them. I think they'll want to use them again inside the bays for pressurization, because they were doing that with Block 2 ship, and it looked like it worked kind of well. And then, of course, you're going to need one for the pad itself, and they haven't. I don't know where they are right now. So.
All right. So how's chat? We've sort of done with that for now, Matt.
Yeah, we can move on to the next place.
So I was going to do a little bit of science here. I feel very fortunate to have Alex around to explain some of the physics, especially to the cryo stuff. I learn so much each week about it all, and He's very patiently described it all to me. So I was having a little chat the other day about helium and how it's used in cryo storage. And this is, once again, nothing new technology. Like most things aren't really new technology here at Starbase. Cryogenics has been around for quite some time. So one of the things that I wasn't aware of was the use of helium to keep cryogenic fluids cool. And so I did a little bit of research and found a couple of interesting things. So this image here sort of shows a basic, and I've read that it's not only hydrogen, but it can also be used for nitrogen and oxygen and other cryogenic liquids as well. So there's helium, and it's basically bubbled, sorry, not boiled, it comes out as gas, and it's bubbled up through the cryogenic fluid. And then I found this whole abstract. This is done by a Chinese lab, and it talks about calculating how much cooling effect is done by the amount of helium bubbled through. And it goes on to say that it can be used also for other cryogenics as well, not just hydrogen. So, which I found very interesting reading. So, and I'm not going to go into all the physics. I mean, you're quite welcome to expand a little bit if you want, Alex.
I mean, it's just like when they're doing any of the cryo testing and the vehicle's sitting for hours filled, since those tanks essentially have no insulation on them. Yeah, you're just bubbling it. It essentially, the LOX or nitrogen boils into the bubble, and that cools the liquid. From the energy it takes to change for that phase change has to come from the liquid, so you can lower the temperature pretty substantially. And it's one of the reasons, like when they, for SLS and the shuttle, they'd fuel it, and then they could just have it sitting on for hours. It would seem like they were constantly just bubbling helium up through the tanks to keep everything nice and frosty.
Which could be which is likely what these tanks under here are for, rather than pressure building for these storage tanks.
Yeah, it's a pressure building. It's the that one might be for this lone nitrogen tank at the end.
And we could still be using the LOX system over here for pressure building.
Yeah, it probably are just using that one for it.
And over here as well, these high pressure tanks are most likely, or something like those trucks are helium to keep these tanks cool as well.
No, you let the tanks boil. It's very expensive to keep stuff cool this way. It's primarily for when they're doing the vehicle testing, and you want to keep the tanks at operational temperatures. So the only way to do that is it circulates propellant, which I don't believe they're configured to allow, or to bubble in helium. And there's some other ways that you could do it, but without modifying the vehicle, it wouldn't be really advantageous.
So at the launch site as well, some of these tanks underneath the main tanks to be helium to do that same sort of cooling system.
Some of it's helium, and then you also have the high pressure bulk storage for filling the COPVs and such, since it's a slower process to generate.
True, yep. Thank you very much. All right, so now I'm going to move off Massey's now for now. We can always come back to Massey. So if you have any other questions for Massey's, feel free to save them up for a bit later on. Thank you very much. So we'll go have a little look around some of the other sites around Now, the liquefaction plant, it's always interesting to look at. I guess we're going to have a much smaller mini-me version of this at Starbase, I guess, in those plans, shows some sort of methane liquefaction plant at Starbase. But yeah,
Several.
probably a little tiny bit smaller.
Mini me is an understatement, to say the least.
Yeah.
Like, it'll be like a 1,000th, 1,000,000th of what this thing can do. I forget what the exact number with like all 3 to 5 trains running, but it was on the order of I'm trying to remember how many it was. It was in the millions of tons of liquid natural gas in a year. Um, basically, once all up and running, this plant could basically supply the Starship program for its entire existence. If it wanted to, it was like 15,000 Starship launches or something like that. So
Yeah. I forgot how many tankers they would service each.
Okay, yeah, this thing produces a massive amount of methane, liquid natural gas, sorry.
It's methane at that point, because part of the process they're stripping the ethane and all the short chain hydrocarbons out.
I was going to say, what are some of the contaminants? You're saying ethane. Would they be like propane and butane as contaminants as well?
Yeah. There's any short chain, and it's on the stripping columns. That's adsorption columns. That's what they're for. The nice thing is, for the most part, you don't have to do as many reboiling steps as you do with air separation plants.
Yep, and would they harvest those butanes and propanes for sale, for like barbecue bottles and so on?
Flare it. I don't think
Just
it's
flare it.
Yeah, it's collecting the economics of collecting some of that stuff, depending what percent. I mean, you might be down to parts per 1,000, parts per million. It's really not that efficient.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So those commodities would come from other places like bottled gas and so on.
I mean, they come from the same sort feedstock, but they're usually removed earlier in the. I mean, part of these trains are for purifying. Whether or not they're capturing it for other uses, I wouldn't know for this plant.
Did American cars, did it take off? With gas in Australia, we have liquid gas was a fairly common thing. It's sort of phasing out now a bit with the new modern, more efficient engines. Was that a thing in America to have gas in your car, like actual
all the buses?
butane?
Most of the buses and short haul trucks still use it.
As far as passenger cars, they tried, but it really just didn't pick up. And then the refilling wasn't common enough for people. I know Honda made some for a little bit there. But yeah, like Alex said, it's mainly for commercial use where they have a central station. They can get them all filled up at it, when they're making the runs.
Yeah,
okay. So every service station or servo in Australia has a liquid gas bowser as well as standard grade petroleums, normal liquid petroleums.
Yeah, like in Los Angeles, I know of like 4 of compressed natural gas fill stations. There's only a handful, but you can fill up your propane at most gas stations. So there's that.
Yeah, okay, we call it LPG. Yeah, LPG per car, auto gas. Yeah, and we have a whole fill system. You've got like you attach it to your car. It's like a great big nut, I guess, that you thread onto your car and then pull the trigger and away it goes. It was fairly common for a long time. For a long time, it was about half the price to travel on gas. Compared to like 80 cents a litre, it was like 40 cents a litre to buy, but you do use a little bit more litres per kilometre, I guess. But yeah, it was a big thing in Australia. Anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. My vehicle at the front, my Ford Falcon at the front, has a gas tank in the back. Takes up some of the boot space. Oh, sorry, trunk. It's a trunk over there. Yeah, so the work over here at the LNG site is definitely moving ahead. We've got 2 trains, 1 train well and truly underway, and a 2nd train. It looks like they've started the 3rd train over here as well.
Yeah.
It's talk about steel and pipework at Starbase and sort of how complicated it can look sometimes. Are really nothing compared to what's going on over here.
Yeah, if you thought Starbase had a lot of cranes at one point in time, no, it doesn't.
It's like every crane is here except for the few at Starbase.
I can't even imagine the coordination required for a site this big.
Yeah, there'd be some fairly decent project managers on site, I would imagine.
And you can
The
pipeline it.
one thing about these is you don't need any like particularly gigantic cranes. Like nothing. I mean, what do they have an 11K here at all, or is it like 1300s and a little bit higher?
I think there's at least 1 or 2 11Ks, but yeah, most of it's 13 and 15s, I think.
Yeah, because like you don't need anything like anything higher that way because the biggest thing those things will pick up are those large propellant tanks unless they get rolled into position.
So
Them kangaroo people and their leaders.
Other than that, it's mostly just pipes and fans and steel pieces, and which a lot of other smaller cranes can do pretty easily.
But when they bring their large fractional columns in, they'll generally need at least 11K.
Do we know roughly how many more tanks they're planning on having at this site?
4 of the large ones total.
Which I forget how much each of those holds.
Spectacular, I used to know.
It's a ridiculous amount of liquid that those can hold. It's ridiculous, to say the least.
Yes. I believe there's more to come. I believe there's at least a 3rd or 4th even tank still to come.
There's supposed to be 4 total, and I think 6 trains once it's all said and done. 5 or 6. Once construction is complete. So I think it was somewhere in the realm of like, I think it was like 25 million tons or something ridiculous. That might be the wrong number of liquid natural gas out of this plant once it's once it's entirely operational, and that's in a year. Enough to supply the Starship program for its entire life. Because I don't think the Starship program is going more than 15,000, 16,000 launches. That's a lot of launches, just to say. Like, that's a lot. We'll have something different once.
So I did a calculation once how much LOX you can get out of the atmosphere, and it turns out there's a billion odd launches worth of oxygen in our atmosphere.
And that's not. It seems low.
That's very, very low.
That seems low. I would assume you're in the hundreds of billions of launches worth of, or more than that. Like, and then you have the ocean too, which if you were to pull oxygen out of every single crevice on the Earth, I don't even want to know how many launches you could cover. You're probably talking in the 900 plus trillion. I don't even know. Like, that's a number I'm pulling out, but it's a lot.
And then you have all the nice little algae in the oceans that would gladly start producing more and more.
Yeah, so basically, Earth has an unlimited supply of LOX for Starship, and for all intents and purposes, an unlimited supply of LNG. There's so much LNG out there; it's hard to quantify how much there actually is. Same thing with like oil.
Dude's coming with some answers in chat there about the quantity. I'm guessing MTPA is megaton per annum.
Uh,
So Train 4 has expected LNG production capacity of approximately 6 MTPA, bringing the total expected LNG production capacity under construction at Rio Grande LNG to approximately 24 MTPA, or 6 million per year.
600 megatons, I got that
is
too.
that million metric ton?
Okay.
So
About a million tons.
that's only one train.
Well, all up, 4 altogether gives 24, yeah.
Yeah. So you're on
Oh,
24.
there it is, yeah. Millions of tons per annum. Thanks, Ponzilla.
Yeah, it's a million metric.
Fozilla.
So
Yes.
yeah, a lot. Just go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, yes, energy requirements are increasing every year, so we do need all this sort of extra infrastructure as time goes on.
Something
Make
I've
it
never
huge.
heard anybody talk about, which might be some fun information if you guys know. When they burn the methane and LOX and everything with the Starship as it goes up, what is it converted into as it burns and comes back into the atmosphere?
CO2 and water is a primary. Then you have some COs, and then you have some. There's a whole list. I could dig it up, but primarily it's just water and CO2.
So you have CH4 and O2, and that really only gives you, yes, CO2 and H2O. But yeah, and there's also some nitrous's, isn't there, Alex? Like that brown dust we see at launch, I always thought it was dust, but that's actually some
That's, yeah.
nitrous's, yeah.
Yeah, but that's interacting with the atmosphere. That's not. You should it, and it all depends on, since they're not using pure methane, whatever's the 0.5% or percent of mystery hydrocarbons that
Yeah,
are
the nitrous's come from the nitrogen in the air, don't they, reacting with the
Yeah.
plume?
Yeah, and the shockwaves heat it up enough.
Yeah,
'Cause
it'll always be down to the impurities in
Plume
the fuel.
chills down
Always
quite a
is.
bit. I mean, that's a very temperature dependent for that production.
And yeah, like Martin just said again, reiterate that there's obviously some impurities in the methane too that get somewhat produced also. And also here, this water, there's all this cooling stuff. I guess all this water is used for cooling. There's some of these plants, even like the ASU, you were saying, you actually consume a fair amount of water.
Yeah, I think the 37 is around 600. Was it 600 gallons a minute? It's a pretty large amount. I have to look it up. And for just cooling the whole compression, pre-compression. But yeah, and some of these will be for evaporation ponds for the processed water. So you can only send it through so many times through the heat exchangers before it's just concentrating all the minerals that it's easier just to drain a little bit out and replenish it, and then you just evaporate it, since environmental reasons it's expensive to dispose of processed water, even though it's just chock full of
Yeah,
minerals.
fair enough. So these might be more for evaporation, and supply maybe they don't store water so much, but just bring it in the pipes.
Yeah, I mean, you can circulate it through those. I mean, it depends on a lot for their cooling towers. I mean, they're all over the roofs.
Yeah, all these things, yeah.
Yeah, they're all.
There's a
And,
massive
like,
amount of them.
Yeah, the ASU is going to have a couple of those as well. So probably not that scale, but yeah. Compressing gases generates quite a bit of heat.
Almost looks a bit like Gigabay, doesn't it? With the K braces.
It's one of the easiest engineering structural solutions.
Triangles,
Seriously,
yeah.
just triangles and steel trusses as you go. It's pretty easy to design something like that. It distributes load very, very nicely.
Very strong, and it's just copy and paste as you go.
Like the Gigabay is a pretty easy build. When they go to do all the work stands, that's where it's going to be more of a pain to design the correct stuff to be able to encase the vehicles as much as you want, get the correct access to the vehicles that you want. Honestly, I think that's probably the harder part of the whole thing.
And we got a question in the chat too, wondering, will they be running a pipe straight from here to the launch site? And if so, are they going to go under the bay or around the bay?
No.
This
It's would be sort of like pulling up to your local refinery and asking to fill up your car.
yeah.
It's and almost all of, if not all, of the LNG is already bought and by whoever they're exporting it to. You generally don't build a plant of the scale on speculative. It's sold before you even break ground generally.
Yeah, I would expect most of this to go to Europe. Be my expectation.
Yeah.
As a substitute for Russian natural gas. That's my expectation, and that's one of the reasons why it got built to begin with. As you don't put this much money into a project like this without the customers already there. As far as I know, SpaceX won't even get a drop of what's coming out of this plant. It's pretty much all export only. And it's not like SpaceX really needs it. I mean, if they wanted to try to get some of it, they could, but Starbase isn't where they really need the methane. They need the methane at the Cape more than anything. So they would need to find a place to get it from there. So that's more of the urgency than that. Because you're only going to set up for 25 launches out of Boca. You might get more than that at some point. But in reality, even trying to get some from this plant is kind of pointless, honestly.
Though we know that they're having a liquefaction plant at Starbase anyway, so they only need to get gas there. So I think the question was more about getting that the gaseous natural gas across to the launch site. Whether they're going to take it from this gas line across, or whether they're going to have another gas line around the port connector right around that way to get to Starbase, I guess was the question.
Probably the terminals that the Brownsville, whatever their utility is using. That's probably what they'll tap into.
And then they can just run it alongside Highway 4 if they get the permission to do that.
Yeah, because this thing is, I think, running off a 42-inch main pipeline, and yeah, you're not going to tap into that.
No, you can tap off the local. Yeah.
And could that have something to do with little talking topic here from Matt for us? Was that the pipe work coming along Highway 4? Could that already be something to do with that, do you think, or just water for now?
If somebody has a shot of what they're pulling, it would be pretty easy to determine what it's for.
The only thing about doing LNG now is or gas now is they don't have a way to liquefy it at Starbase. And the permissions to even get the land to even start to build the liquefaction plant to do that is, so let's just say it's a long ways out, to say the least.
Yeah.
Months and months out. I think, Alex, you said you were thinking 18 months until they even get the approval to use that?
Yeah, except part of me thinks it'll just be under the radar. It'll just be approved. Sort of the same approvals process they did for Pad B. It's just like, oh, wait, they're filling in wetlands. How does that happen?
That was always the funniest thing, is they literally filled in wetlands and there was no Army Corps of Engineers proposal. At least I never found one. There was literally nothing. They just filled it in and we're done with it.
And yeah, just from reading some of the preliminary stuff where different agencies were bringing up points, and I think the Army Corps is just like, that's not a concern. That's not a concern of ours. So there's some executive orders with Command being approved seemingly for the NASA position. There's a lot of indications the White House and Musk's feud was overblown, but because that's the one thing the executive can just sort of rubber stamp it and call it good.
Very good. Let's have a little quick look around. How's that little boat go? Oh wow, geez, is that the aircraft carrier? No. Oh, there's the aircraft carrier. I'm thinking, wow, it's made it small. Oh, that boat's doing something.
Dredging.
Let's say it looks like a dredger.
Yeah, Rio West. Let me see. Have we got a Rio West photo this week? Not that I don't know that I saw one.
I mean,
Yeah, we got a couple of them.
oh, there's last week's. I think it's at the phase where week to week there isn't too much visible.
Just give me a quick look here.
No, most of Rio West is all indoors now.
Yeah, they've been working on the extension to the road for like that second section. I know they've been doing that over the last few weeks. Yeah, not a whole lot going on.
Just give me a sec. I'm having trouble finding a photo. Hang on. This is last week's.
That ASUs they're building, Ryan, the nameplate on the motors for the pre-compression stage pretty much say it's going to be for a whole lot more than 25 launches a year.
So what they're doing is they're building an overkill ASU just to have it for now, and I think they're hoping for like 50 to. How many launches a year do you think you could get out of that thing? Are they building enough for a launch every other day? Basically?
About around 2 to 3 days, depending on some of the efficiencies, but the front end is
eventually. Then they'll want to try to probably hit like 75 to 80 out of Boca if they can, which should be mostly. My expectations out of Boca would be tanker missions.
my expectation if out of Boca, especially if they're IPO, and I mean we can talk about the math of space-based data centers. Since those are all sun synchronous, you're not launching those out of the Cape. You'd be launching them from Boca and or waiting for Vandy to get a
They could dogleg it out of the Cape. That would be cool. A Starship dogleg.
Yeah. I mean, the re-entry profile would be spectacular because I mean, at least coming into Boca, you could come on the uphill leg, and
it's just SSO out of Boca is not great where that rocket goes, though.
Go straight down. It doesn't cross until the Yucatan.
I guess you could skirt the coast, yeah.
And coming back is the same thing. You come on the uphill leg 12 hours later, and you're pretty much over water the entire time. Except Brownsville will be really angry because they'd get the brunt of the landing booms. But yeah, if that's the case, they're going to be launching a whole lot out of Sun synchronous from Boca.
Does that have to go? You were saying south or north, didn't you, for that?
Yeah, it's like 92, 98 degree inclination. So it's essentially a polar orbit.
Yeah.
I always forget that Oak is like a slightly little bulge right at the end of Texas, and you get that you get the Mexican coastline, which kind of curves in a little bit. So yeah, you'd be able to launch SSO, and then you'd literally cross right over like near Veracruz, and basically
Yeah.
you'd basically you would purposefully cross over the shortest part, more or less, the shortest part of that of the landmass there, where there's not a lot there.
Down in here, no, there's not much down in here.
No, it would literally cross like right in this short area on the way up. So you could do you can do sun synchronous out of there as long as the Mexican government's fine with it.
You'd already have most of your altitude by your guts, but wouldn't you be pretty
You'd have a
high
good chunk
already?
of altitude by then. You wouldn't be fully in space though, but you'd have a good chunk of your altitude. You'd have a decent amount of altitude. It would be in the middle of the ship burn when you crossed over.
Yeah. Okay, I did see a question asking about a basic rundown of liquefaction of gas, and I just quickly found Google's a good thing. This is one. I'm not sure this is exactly how they're doing, but this is one diagram I just saw where gas comes in, and then there's all sorts of heat exchanging systems, and eventually end up with condensate coming out the bottom. And I'm sure there's a whole lot of physics going on in amongst all this, thermodynamics and what have you.
That's LNG. That's air-sep is a wee bit different.
Oh, the question was about liquefaction of LNG. This looks like LPG rather than LNG, though.
Petroleum gas.
Debutanizer. Oh, there's where the butane goes. So maybe this is LNG, and they're getting that little bit of butane off the top of this column. De-ethanizer. Okay, there's some ethane, some residual. So yeah, Google's your friend there, for the most part. Yeah, interesting geography, about the launches in here, even the re-entry stuff when ship comes back from out of space, and the re-entry sort of window down through here, or even up through here, I guess depends on which phase they're coming back on.
The one down from San Diego across is the inclination they want permission to launch for, because that's the one that'll take them pretty much over Florida and launch. Will be help a lot with using orbital transfers from Boca to the Cape.
So they re-entered down on this path. Will you guys on the Californian coast get to see a bit of re-entry glow through here?
Yeah, if you could see shuttle glow.
Yeah, that's
those are up the coast.
Starship's bigger.
Yeah.
Yes. So, anytime Starship re-enters near land, or anytime it re-enters, once it starts launching a lot, people are gonna wonder what this massive glowing object in the sky is. Whether it's night re-entries, day re-entries, whatever, you'll see it. Especially, you'll see it.
Yeah,
but shuttle re-entered to come down all the way over Florida. I guess sometimes they landed over here, didn't they? At the other base.
It landed Edwards a lot. Yeah.
But even when it was going to Florida, it was starting. It's like was it Challenger that broke up? It was obvious it was
Columbia.
Columbia that broke up.
Yeah, it was the burn through. If you were looking at the track when it crossed California, it was already not nominal.
Yeah, it ended up breaking up over Texas.
Yeah, but you're already into the re-entry interface by the California coast was.
Yeah, you'll be able to see Starship entry interface off the coast of California, and you're well into re-entry. It'll pass The initial track will have you go, like, it'll thread between, I think it's Los Angeles and San Diego, and it's gonna literally run. It's gonna kind of ride the coast, the border, go south of San Antonio, and then it'll come and swoop right between the final leg is between Port Isabel and South Padre Island as it heads south to then get caught by the Pad B Tower. Is literally it's gonna thread the needle between the two and come back in.
Yeah. Do a U out here. Do a U-bolt out here.
No. It won't. It'll, so if you zoom out, based off the track of the last flight, it'll come north. It'll come north, missing Brownsville, and it'll come like over Rio Hondo and whatnot, and then it's going to go over that Bay Basin, north of Port Isabel and South Padre Island. So that basin that's up there. It'll then turn south. It'll do a banking turn south and then line up with the tower and get caught. So it's going to split right between Port Isabel and South Padre Island. It will not go out over the Gulf. At least it shouldn't.
The new approach, if they get that approved, will for that. But this is strictly for their current approved.
Yeah. Depending on where, and it also will depend on what inclination they're returning from. Will depend on the track for reentry, obviously. So eventually, the current setup, it looks like it'll go between Port Isabel and South Padre, but later on the line, it might come over the Gulf and curve back in or something like that. We don't really. It depends on where it's going to come from.
Cool. That's going to be some exciting times when I start doing that. I can't wait for that. Hopefully next year we'll see some of that already. So to get one to not blow up on the ground first. So we're not mocking. I think someone in chat said before we're mocking SpaceX. We're not really mocking SpaceX. Yeah, we'll have a bit of a joke about odd failure here or there, but we very much know especially the three commentators right now, we're very much aware that part of the development of Starbase and Starship is the odd destructive thing happens, but that's just part of testing. Test fast and iterate quickly, however that saying goes. Okay, now I'm being directed. Now about ownership, let's quickly go back to Rio West. There's a new restaurant. It's not a motel. I was trying to see, Matt was talking about a hotel, but it's just a restaurant, isn't it? There's no hotel here, I don't think, at Rio West.
No.
No, but there is a new restaurant happening. Which is a chain, I think, isn't it? It's one of the chains here.
I think so. I'm not familiar with the.
Oh, come on. Event Deeds calls it by its name. Oh, hey, next to the production facility. Sorry, I meant. Yeah, okay, over at the build site. Part of that big new apartment complex. We'll go back there in a sec. But while we're here, so there's a nice restaurant going ahead here. This is last week's photo. I haven't found this week's photo yet, so I won't worry about it for now. Not a lot would have happened over the week, but yeah, it looks like they're ploughing ahead and they're developing this new area out here, which I'll have a look at the ownership maps in a sec because it's kind of interesting as well. So this should be just more of the same, I'd imagine.
Yeah, as of this week, the only thing that I saw that changed with Rio West that much anyway, and especially with that road, is that they finished clearing that last little bit to the left. Nope, just below your hand. Keep going down. Yep, they cleared all that, so that's all nice and smooth now.
Cool. Yep. So that'll be Rio West. Now go back to this week. I just might close that so I don't get confused, because that happens sometimes. Now, Oh, it happens to me all the time. I'll be in show and tell going, you're on the wrong week. So Rio West, where are we? We're here, aren't we? Hang on, where am I? No, it's over here.
You were close, yep.
Yes. Is that one of their many names, is it?
Not that I think so. No.
Oh, there we go, SpaceX. So SpaceX owns all of this.
And if you see
SpaceX
where it
owns-
says that Rio Grande Drive and the Tarpon Bend Drive there, you can actually see on the pictures that they're going to expand the road around there, the finished road around that corner, because SpaceX actually does own some of the lots over there too. So I think they're working on picking up a lot of that. I know
Over this
there's
area?
at least one or two houses over there that perfectly match exactly like what they're doing over at Rio West.
You mean over this area?
Yeah, a little bit lower.
Over here.
Yeah, down into the panhandle, basically down there, a little bit lower. They own a few of those, and I've seen them doing construction on a couple of them. I think there's a picture from that area either last week or maybe the week before.
Okay, hang on. There were some good photos of that area, I remember, over the last few weeks. I did not come prepared for that, but let me have a quick look around here. Not that lucky. I just put a highlight of photos on my external drives last week, but I think I've got 2 weeks worth here. Nah, maybe not. Sorry, I might have to get someone to pull that one up in chat for me. No, I can't find them offhand. So one of the things was ownership and land swaps, and so on was on our little list on our little agenda today. We'll go back to that motel at the launch site in a second. So Dogleg Park, that's one of their names. They do own that part. I'm not sure how Event Deeds is awesome with following these things up. I'll have to get him on the show and actually do a whole section on. I was in chat there today. It's supposed to be a corner store there at some point. Back at Rio West. So Dogleg Park actually own the big area that's going to get developed in the near future, but they've got I think Event Deeds was saying they're still in the process. Alex, you know about that, don't you? They're still in the process of getting this cleared, yeah?
Yeah, it's not close. It's submitted to the Army or the Army Corps of Engineers.
Yeah, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're also across the Highway 4. They're setting up a land bank for offsets.
So one thing I've always find odd when it comes to the offsets, it's like, okay, that's already, it's already wetlands and everything and whatnot, and most of it is all state owned, like it's all it's like a state or it's a national park, like a wildlife refuge. How is that used as collateral, basically, to buy and then convert other wetlands into workable ground to work on? I've never understood how that works, because it's like it's already state park land, so buying it up and giving it up that never made any sense to me.
Yeah, that does sound confusing.
The land bank, they actually physically own the property. They just bought it within the last couple months.
thing that doesn't make sense is it's already a state park, isn't it?
No, not the land that they bought isn't.
Okay. So they're
It's-
giving it over as a state park
Yeah,
for
you're
in exchange to build on that one is what you're doing.
exactly. You're
Okay.
This land is now. I mean, I think they're setting up so they'll be managing the land bank, but it's the covenants on restrictions on the property basically don't allow it to ever be developed, and a bunch of
Ryan, Event Dudes is saying, so it's similar to the carbon offset with already planted
Okay,
trees,
okay.
etc.
It was just confusing because it was like, isn't it? I think the only confusing part in my head was I was thinking it was already a state park, and I'm like, how are you already buying that and giving it back? That didn't make sense in my head, so that's why.
Yeah, the more amusing is they're also using part of their land bank for the Highway 4
They're double dipping.
expansion. Yeah, I mean, it has bank in the name, so they're treating it like an investment banker would.
My question, so the question then becomes for them. It's like, well, I guess they have to look around and see what other land they can buy up and hand over to say that they'll never work on this stuff and be like, okay, this is definitely a wildlife refuge from now on, and we're going to build over here rather than building over there, and here it is for you. I wonder how much more they'll buy, because considering the credit ratio, aren't they going to need a lot for that launch site plan?
Yeah,
In theory.
in theory. The bigger issue is because of the type of emergent tidal flats, there's, I think, only 5 sites in the world. That also puts a very large damper in finding suitable offset.
Mm.
And then the next time a hurricane blows through there and everything is unrecognizable, then it's sort of...
Yeah, like with the if a Category 3 or 4 hurricane were to roll through Starbase, I mean, not only would it damage a lot of SpaceX infrastructure, but all the tidal flats, wetlands would be completely and utterly unrecognizable and no longer a wildlife habitat, but a just completely destroyed land zone. Like, it'd be just destroyed.
It would be very interesting, especially looking at the data from the photos from the 60s.
Like, basically, if a Cat 3 hurricane were to hit Starbase dead on, or close to dead on, like the eye wall came close or grazed it, you're talking all of that land, all of it, will be underwater. Like, probably under a couple, depending on the storm surge, depending on how much pressure, the internal pressure of the hurricane is or whatever, you could be looking at up to 18 to 20 feet of water inundation in all of that area, which means you're looking at water rising halfway up the launch mount, the Pad B launch mount. You're looking at the entire tank farm basically submerged. You're looking at all the tidal flats and wetlands completely underwater, destroyed by wind, storm surge, flooding, everything. Basically, I don't know how well the launch site would fare after such an event, especially with all that equipment. If all that equipment were to be submerged for any length of period of time, because salt water is not forgiving at all to anything. Yeah, it would not be good for the infrastructure there, to say the least.
I mean, even a storm stalling and just dumping rain, you'd have the floodwater coming down from the Rio Grande as well, which in some ways would rob, which already goes into one of those flats. So,
like basically Massey's, Rio West, the launch site, Starbase would all be underwater if a decent enough hurricane came through here. Didn't even need to be a Cat 4 or 5.
Which they experienced in the 60s before SpaceX was there.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and it's the whole coastline here would be completely different.
The
Since
dunes
all-
would be destroyed.
SpaceX owns like 2 sites down here, and
Yeah.
this is kind of odd.
They just gobbled up everything they could.
Yeah. Anything
Yeah,
they could buy, they bought, basically.
And then that also
So that restaurant, thanks to the Bent Dudes, it's called Chompy's. So my memory lately has been a bit funny, but appreciate your patience there, Bent Dudes. Thank you.
Yeah, one of their lots down here, they got, I don't know if it ever went through, but they were proposing it as one they're trying to change their offset from the original development in 2018-ish to one of the lots down here. I don't know if that ever went through or not.
Very good. Yes, bits and pieces I own and bits and pieces I don't own in amongst all that. That's interesting. So I always find this this map really interesting as to how much it was actually section like ready to sell in all these blocks here. That was all gazetted out in the streets and everything.
On the left side, those of that map, if you zoom back in, so you see the lines. To the left, past those little subdivisions. Yeah, in there, that's the property that they bought. One of them is what they bought. It might not have. Yeah, that one, the lower whatever mitigation, is the one they bought. The lower. Yeah, that one.
Okay, yeah, and that's quite big, yeah.
It's. I think it's close to 1,000 acres.
Oh, it's huge, yeah. Yeah, I've always said it's kind of, yeah. I always say this, that I know it's important to look after the environment, but the amount of land they want to reclaim here seems so insignificant in comparison to the actual size of these wetlands that are like massive, especially going down into Texas. It's huge.
Yeah, it is. Well, I mean, most of that's Mexico, but it is a lot of land, but there's a lot of environmental laws regarding, especially wetlands, because they're rare. And I think Alex, you said once there's no known way to like recreate them. Really?
Yeah, the emergent flats here. There's, I mean, SpaceX is funding a lot of studies and research projects on how to try and recreate them, but the algae mats on the surface, and like I was saying, I think there's 5 other sites in the world that are of this type of habitat, so they're
Like if you were looking at if this was more akin to some of the spots on the like the coast of North Carolina or the coast of Florida, they probably wouldn't have this much issue at all. I doubt they'd have this much issue. They would have already gotten the approval to do it. The problem is this is such a unique area that it makes it incredibly hard to recreate anywhere else. So you have to find a way to make sure that enough of it is preserved, even though you're only using a small part of it. That's the whole point behind it. As much as people may not understand it, that's the whole point. Is it's people want to preserve this. So
yeah, that's
Yeah, I understand all that, but look, I keep reiterating it seems such a tiny piece. It's the same with rainforests. It's nearly impossible to recreate rainforests when they've been torn down. So you understand the delicacy of the situation, but yeah, it just seems such a tiny piece of land compared to what's around it. That's all. But thanks, I appreciate the explanation. Thanks.
a very large portion of the Amazon pre-Columbus was deforested. It comes back.
Yeah, and I guess wetlands do too in time.
I mean, some ecosystems can come back much easier than others.
So, I mean, when things come up, we'll cross over to that sort of land management and land purchases and land swaps and what have you. So I'm pretty happy with where we've gone today with that just for now. What's my director saying? Well, hang on. 1 second. Okay, I think we'll use this image of work, won't it, Matt?
Yeah, the image that I linked you in message is for the other side, right on the other side of that Rio West that we were looking for. That's that picture.
Oh, gotcha. Thanks. Okay, I'll have that somewhere. I'll just use this image for now, though.
So you can see how some of those match exactly the same type and style as Rio West.
Yeah, they put these up quite a while ago when OC's getting built. There's rumours that that's one of Mark's family's house there, but we won't go into that. I might get banned from the internet if I go too far there. Looks like all the weeds have gone away.
Water hyacinths.
Is that a makeshift helicopter pad? There's a big H right there at the bottom in that person's yard.
Probably.
Yeah, could be.
Yes, and I feel like I should know who owns it. One of these, like,
That's
who knows some of these people?
that's the Red Line Hurley Raptor Roost, I believe.
Ah, there you go.
You were just on the site that would tell you who owns these.
Yeah, of course. That's Rocket Ranch's outpost there. I know that. And what's her name? Boca Chica. What's her name? Maria owns one of these
Maria.
as well, as far as I know. Yep. And we got the NSF site over here, which is called
Ryan.
What? It's River.
Let her. Yeah, I was gonna say just let her squirm for a while.
There's a as the danger van is there. That's what's left of it, anyways.
that was.
Is that the van that got hit by the rock or the
Yeah.
debris from that launch?
That was flight one.
Still one of my
Interesting
favorite
day.
videos.
Protect me, cone, and it gets hit. Yeah.
The one car that got hit that bad.
And there were a lot of photographers' remotes that did not make it out of that, because if those who don't remember, remote setup for that launch was inside the pad perimeter, just nearby where Starhopper used to sit, and it was like right at the ramp, all the up to suborbital pad A. So when the amount of thrust happened, no one really knew exactly what would happen with that amount of thrust. And it not only blasted but created a vacuum as it left, and destroyed most of the cameras completely.
A big gaping hole in the ground.
Yeah.
And I had to laugh a bit because there was like some of the people putting their cameras on the railings there, thinking it was going to be nice and secure. And the railings
lot of
just got
people did
ripped out
that.
the ground.
Whoops.
It was after that people truly understood
Okay.
how powerful a starship was.
Yeah, that's another whole topic we could probably spend another hour on. We'll keep that in the back burner, that one, for another day, because that was an interesting day. Matt, we're pretty happy with what's going on with this show today so far. So keep up the questions, and awesome to see you all in chat. There's nearly 300 in chat. That's really well done, guys.
We
Really
get in
appreciate
another Muriel, whatever you want to call it.
Who's Muriel?
Mural.
I don't know. Something. Mural.
Muriel's
Words English.
wedding.
It's hard. I'm gonna leave now.
One of the best movies out of Australia, Muriel's Wedding. Well, the actress anyway. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. Looks like maybe they're gonna. I'm not sure what they're gonna do here. Whether they're gonna fill this whole side in all the way through, or just have a panel or two. I'm not sure yet. Maybe they'll go all the way through. Almost looks like two things. There's this sort of system up here, and then there's that system down there. They're like two different things. And that the at the other garage, they've filled in over here. Maybe they will here as well yet, but they haven't yet.
It'll be a long time before you can use that garage. I got a lot of internal stuff to do. All the lighting, all the fire suppression.
I guess they're going to cover it all in concrete like they did on the roof, I guess. Another layer of concrete. Which did they do that on the other parking garage? I can't remember them where they put a layer of concrete on top like they are over here or not, actually, in the original parking garage. Car park. It's a car park, damn it.
Looks like they're just sealing the joints.
Yeah.
Is what it looks like they're doing. If you go
Like
up.
caulking them.
Yeah, there are definitely a few different people around the whole thing at joints.
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah, okay, yeah.
If you go up to the top of it there, you can see where it looks like some of them are getting sealed in here. It kind of looks like, at least.
Yeah, an epoxy.
Oh, like that compared to this, so. So some of this is possibly. Oh, I'm cooking nachos. I've got chili con carne on. I can smell it. It's beautiful. So there's probably a motel section here and then apartments. I'm not sure. There's some apartments and some motel here. I guess I'm not really sure exactly how that works at the moment. Maybe this is a motel section and all that's apartments. I mean, it was called an apartment complex rather than a motel complex. So there's definitely some.
I mean, it would be cool if they had, because there's still even in just the L, there's a decent amount of apartments in there. That's a decent amount of apartments, even just in the L. And then it'd be funny if they did turn the triangle into a hotel. That would be funny.
And even so,
that wouldn't be a lot.
There still is quite a few rooms there too.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. This even looks like a single and a double. Perhaps. Anywho. It's like over here, the smaller ones, and over here, the bigger ones too. We know that.
Who wants the corner rooms with the weird angles?
Yeah.
The parking structure with a little bit of housing built around it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of a parking structure than it is an apartment complex, I'm going to be entirely honest.
Yeah. I'd imagine that front corner might be like set up for observation, at least one of the levels, since it's kind of pointing towards the launch site.
This side over here is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that corner. Yeah.
That parapet and facade from some of the ground shots are pretty. That's pretty tall. I don't.
The real
Is it taller than that? Oh, sorry. Is it taller than that wall there, Alex?
It's probably about that height. Yeah, that's
like
probably 10 feet.
I sort of think that's what we're thinking, that taller parapet wall is going to come along. Actually, it's going to hit. Where does it hit? It's going to hit about here. So it may have just come right through there, which is going to make this corner a bit weird.
No, they'll extend it.
You say that corner weird. Do we not remember the jank that was the Star Factory to office building connection?
Yeah.
Good point. That was jank. That was next level, watching them do that.
Yeah, the geometry on that roof is wow.
The roof is the afterthought. It's for the sight lines.
Yeah,
right.
That was the real derp dip.
Yeah.
And and they have the parapet facade walls to make it look like a much larger structure as well on both sides.
Yeah, they like the little parapet walls, don't they?
See, architect wants to, clean up the ground views, sight lines.
Okay, very good. Oh, look, they're starting glass on this side as well. Oh, there's another little, I don't know, is that another little corner section will be like a void? This is going to be a nice apartment. This corner one's going to have windows on two sides. Nice.
That's
They're the
probably too.
penthouses.
No
They're
balconies, though.
that big.
Not that you
Oh,
want a
sorry.
balcony in South Texas, right?
As long as it's covered.
Yeah.
There's mosquitoes.
They're doing more development on this block as well.
Yeah, they just traded Texas parks for it. I don't know what they traded, but a handful of these lots changed hands recently.
Okay, so
Mostly-
they'll be able to continue this walkway through here after all.
Yes.
Sweet.
And then they'll put some kind of random building there. Who knows what they're going to put?
Yeah, gee, these angles must be annoying to have to go around all these weird angles all the time, not just straight through. But like you say, wetlands, it's all good.
But they're for people walking or biking, so you really wouldn't notice that much.
Yeah, true.
Like,
I mean just for
On a-
construction rather than for navigation.
on a cool day, on certain days of the year, walking that might be fun. But on like 95% of the days down there, no. Like,
Okay, what's next? So that's the motel. Let me look at my little list here. That's giving me an awesome little list here to follow. Rio West, so school. Okay, some of the other sites. Let's have a quick look around some of the other sites this week. I have them somewhere in this folder, I think. Yeah. Okay, this is the storage site on Highway 4. It's, well, somewhat getting cleaned up in some areas, but it's still very busy in other areas. And they extended this recently over here as well. Oh, sorry.
I just said I was gonna love how there's just a school bus sitting in there. Over on the left,
Yeah.
near the dumpsters. Just a school bus.
Yeah, I asked about that. And they're not owned by the school system anymore. They're probably privately owned these days. A lot of this, they get turned over. I think Alaska Space was telling me about it. They get turned over a lot, and they buy new ones and sell the old ones off.
Yeah, there's. And one of
I'm
the.
wondering if it's been parked there for a while. Look at the amount of dust on the roof. Same with the shipping container right below it. They're covered in white, fine blown gypsum dust. So
I
that
think
thing's
that's
been
what-
there for more than a month.
I think that's a white roof.
Or it's
to
the
be honest.
paint
It's a white
job.
roof. They have white roofs.
Okay.
A lot of the
nice.
stuff that's sitting around there has been there for a while. It's just that's the kind of the junk lot in a lot of ways.
Yeah, white roof
Here's
would make
some more,
sense
though.
in Texas, given the high heat that's down there. It'd be like driving in the Aussie outback. Yeah.
No,
people-
nothing's like driving in the Aussie outback, especially in the summer.
Oh. Make
That's
the
stuff
trek
like-
from
All right.
Catherine in the summer, and you'll discover what the word hot means.
So that's that lot. Now the school. I'm not sure we have a shot of the school this week. I'll have a look around. So I should have been a little bit more prepared with these sites. I was a bit slack yesterday. I'll have to go back last week for a school shot. So this is the Brownsville site. This is near the airport where they're accumulating steel beams.
And a bus.
Another bus and a Cybertruck. Where's the Cybertruck? Cybertruck. There's your bus. Lots of trucks.
Wait, is there no Cybertrucks there?
I'm thinking
There's
that.
got to be more.
Trash cans, they got to be there.
It's not a SpaceX. This is the vendors a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is all the stage. This is one of the 2 staging areas for all the Gigabay steel.
Yeah.
Yeah, which I expect, still a lot more to come in and get chipped in and out still. Yeah, like I say, it must be like it's really not there's plenty of other projects that are significantly larger than this, but like you're saying, Ryan, it's probably one of the biggest ones in South Texas, eh?
Sure.
It's one of the bigger buildings in South Texas, but that's literally all it has the claim to fame on. That's it. Because in terms of bigger buildings, you start to get up into Dallas and Austin and whatnot, and you get skyscrapers in there.
And it's the
Some of those cities.
stadiums.
Yeah, and then you get to the stadiums, especially in Dallas, and stadium is far bigger than that Gigabay. Like,
I mean,
a lot bigger.
imagine how many vehicles they could build in that thing.
How tall is the roof on the new Cowboy Stadium?
Yes.
I gotta look it
Google's
up.
your friend. Okay. Looking for the school. Let me see. Just give me one. Sure, we got a shot here over the last couple of weeks.
Answer your question, Ryan. It's 91 meters tall, nearly 300 feet.
You could build Block 3 boosters in it, or Block 4s even.
Yeah.
Sweet.
Yeah.
There is a partial shot of the school, just 4 pictures over from where you currently are. Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Thank you. Yep. I was more organised than I thought. Okay, so we can see the old school and the old command centre for the Starship launches, which we suspect is now very much in the office building. This, basically a bit of a dumb terminal, I guess, to launch the launch control stations rather than having all the computer power there. So the new school, it's coming ahead nicely. There's some nice ground shots of it through some of the ground photographers. Actually, I've got some from Sean Geisler. Actually, I'm allowed to use Sean Geisler stuff as long as I credit him. Yeah, they're looking like going ahead nicely. Let me have a quick look at that. I could go down a rabbit hole going through Sean's stuff. I probably should hide his address there. Oh, he's got a favourites folder. So this is Sean Geisler. Make sure you follow him over there on X, and also his photography is used a lot in Marcus House videos. He's got some awesome photos. It's not, don't worry, it's not what I thought it was going to be. Never mind. I'll look that up further in a minute. Cowboy Stadium, 320 feet in height. Is it Sunday already? No, who's that? Evan Waterman. No, we're having a little trial of a midweek show, and so far it seems to be reasonably popular. Okay, so we're still looking for questions in chat, but feel free to ask questions if there's anywhere in particular you want to have a look around at.
Yeah, we've got a few questions if you want to hit them.
Sure.
All right. Petrie says, fast forward to Starship being launched every day. Does it make sense to use an old oil rig out at Ocean?
For launching?
I would imagine. I believe, didn't they already kind of think about doing that, and they bought one and started tearing apart and then gave up?
They bought it mainly for the drawworks, I think. But the Connell shelf is so shallow, it would be fairly easy for them to build a large platform a couple miles off of both. Forget how far you have to go before it falls past like 30 meters. And so, yeah, the larger issue is how the plume would interact with the water. And
because shooting at a at a flame deflector in a trench is not the same as shooting at a large body of water. There's issues with that.
You'd still have the deflector more than likely, and see if you could pump salt water through. And yeah, it's feasible for sure. And if they have that volume of flights, then that completely changes a lot of the regulatory structure.
Because I don't think they would just use an oil rig. I literally think they would make a purpose-built platform, and because an oil rig isn't big enough. Like, I'm sorry, but it's not big enough to house the tower, the rocket, the entire tank farm, unless you're using and the entire tank farm, the subcooling, everything you need for a launch pad. A oil rig is not even remotely big enough. You need to tie like you need to tie like 7 of them together to make enough room.
Well, that's
here's,
the thing
here's the big one for you, Ryan. Resupplying that oil rig on a timely basis.
It's trivial.
Getting the propellants out there would be quite a nightmare to transfer that stuff in a cryogenic state. Look at the fleet of trucks that currently goes into Starbase.
Currently for filling LNG terminals, I think the longest undersea run for refueling is 17.5 kilometers. It's a kind of solved problem at this point. No offense.
Literally, they could run 2 pipelines. They could run a LOX pipeline and an LNG pipeline under the ocean, and then bring it up right at one of the stilts and hook it into the tank farm. I don't think that's really big an issue. The issue is building a large enough platform to house an entire launch pad, associated tank farm hardware, as well as the whole thing with offshore stuff is okay. All right, it's out there, you launch it. Okay, great. You bring the booster back. Okay, great. Now I need a place to put the booster to bring the ship back. Okay, great. Now it's back. Well, all right. Well, for the ship, unless it's a tanker, you need to put payload. If it's not a tanker, you need to do another payload on it. So you need a payload processing facility out there, unless you're taking the ship back to land to do payload processing. And then with the booster, well, if you got to work on one of the vehicles, then you need to swap the vehicle out, and that becomes a pain to swap the vehicle off the rig, get it back into land, get it back into a hangar, fix it, and get it back out there, or put it onto another pad. Really,
a logistical nightmare.
It's the vehicle side of it is a logistical pain. And not only that, building the one of the largest sea-based platforms ever is literally what you'd be doing, too. Like, you're talking something gigantic out there.
You need multiples, because you wouldn't want. I mean, the pad A and B pose significant issues for like logistics for the rate of launching. I don't know that you'd probably stage a booster on one of the pads, but I don't think you'd load a ship while another one was launching that way.
And so then you're talking about making a platform large enough for at least 2 launch pads out of that, with sharing a single tank farm. So you're talking about building something the size of the launch site at Boca out at sea.
Now, what about for like special launches, like a nuclear reactor, when they can get them down small enough that nobody wants launched over their area? Would it be worth it for something like that, or do you think it'll be, when they're ready to do that, do you think it'll be fine just to do it from wherever?
You can launch that out of the Cape. The Cape goes right over the Atlantic Ocean. Doesn't go over anyone. And if you're doing an interplanetary trajectory, you're not going to go over any land with that launch. That shouldn't be an issue to do that way.
Okay.
The only land they pass over is the southern part of Africa, but that's usually when the escape climb occurs, when it crosses the equator.
You're already in orbit at that point, though.
Yep.
So that doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's go quickly back to the school. Found the photo.
Back to the school.
This is a ground shot. I'm pretty sure we're gonna jump around heaps. Don't worry about that. I'm pretty sure that's a photo from through here of the school. From Sean Geisler. Yeah, I haven't got. Sorry, Sean, I haven't got you. Be watching. I haven't got your watermarks yet on your images, but this is Sean Geisler. He does a lot of photos for Marcus House, and he's quite often invited me to use his images wherever we feel can be a help. And as long as we get his watermark out there, as long as people get to see the images and his watermark, so there's his watermark, and so yeah, that's what it looks like from the ground. So that should do for covering the school. Okay, and sorry, I interrupted a conversation. I really didn't mean to do that.
It's fine.
You did, but it's okay.
Yeah.
Well, while
I
we're
just-
on that picture and we're seeing the extension of the highway, there was actually a question. What is the status of the highway? Is it being redone?
No, it's still in approvals.
Yeah, still in approvals. They just submitted the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers proposal for the expansion from Brownsville up to Sanchez a couple days ago.
You're going to twin that
Oh,
up there, Ryan?
Up here, they're already moving the power line across out of the way. I think they're moving that is being moved, isn't it? That's recent work, isn't it? Moving the power line.
It's part of that. Also, is the utilities that they've been doing.
Okay, and which means now gives you a bit of an idea if they're going to build a double, like a freeway. I guess you call it a freeway in America, or interstate, where it's 2 lanes either way. It looks like plenty of room for that.
If it gets approved, yeah.
Yeah, if it gets approved, it hasn't been approved yet. So, yeah, it's one of those things. People have to remember is everyone talks about the Highway 4 expansion or talks about the launch site expansion. Neither of them can happen right now. They're not approved. So until they get approved, nothing's going to happen. So it has to go through government paperwork like everything.
But they're already approved to clear this bit of land and move the utilities over, yeah? But it's not approved yet to actually build the road, is that correct?
I think it's just the temporary for moving of the utilities. They were
moving utilities. Moving utilities within the easeway is not nearly the permitting process as to say, let's now put pavement in that area.
Yeah.
Because it's already an easeway for utilities, so that's not that big of a deal.
Okay, this was always an easeway, yeah?
Well,
yeah, the right of way there is huge.
Yeah, so the right of, and that's the other part. So doing utilities in a right of way is one thing. Adding lanes into the right of way that's part of a wetlands and whatnot, that's a whole nother thing. That's another thing entirely. That's a whole other can of fish, ball of worms, whatever you want to call it. But there's a lot more that goes into having to be able to build a road base, add pavement, and double the size of a highway than it is to just add more commodities and whatnot, or services, basically.
Yeah,
widening the easeway is a lot easier than that and quicker. But if that's all they did, that's nothing compared to like you say, paving it and covering it up and starting 4 lanes.
Yeah,
but that's the easement there, isn't it, on the highway there? That whole width there.
Yeah, like one of the alternatives they had was essentially building a viaduct so that they'd elevate the roadway above some of these wetlands,
which would look kind of cool.
That'd be awesome.
But
because there's days when there's actually water over this road, isn't there? When it's stormy.
Yeah, that's one of the areas that's issues because they need a dredge to rebuild some of the road surface, and it's a bit problematic as far as the regulatory.
These last sections like here, they get water over, I guess. Then it's stormwater, isn't it? It's water being pushed around by the storm, yeah?
It's tidal.
Tidal, okay, yeah.
Yeah, because the Rio will flow into this area. You can see at the bottom of the frame where the bit of the channel goes in. The others, so they're tidal and wind driven.
A bit
Yeah,
over
right.
here, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
right where the bend is. If you go straight, right there is where it overflows in.
Nice, yep.
So it's brackish water comes in.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's a beautiful ecosystem, I'd imagine, when it's pristine. Looks very pristine. A lot of this looks very pristine, especially down here in Mexico where there's nobody around.
I mean,
Okay, thank you for that question. Did we answer a question then, or we go down a separate dive after all?
Well, yeah, that was part of a question, and it answered some of the other stuff too. Because another person asked what our thoughts would be on a direct rail connection to Starbase for freight and passengers, and that basically what Ryan said explained it of how hard it would be because it's wetlands and all that kind of stuff. Just kind of pointless, honestly.
Like,
I mean, go.
well, go on, Alex.
Oh, I was gonna say for vehicles, it would be a lot easier for them to bore a tunnel than for the surface improvements. But
Run a TBM under the highway.
yeah, I mean, that's. I mean, as far as boring, this would be no fun.
It'd be very soft land to go through too.
But I'll bet they know a guy.
They'd have to do quite a bit of grouting before they get in front of the TBM.
I didn't say is everyone always brings up the having a separate road off to the side to transport vehicles, to try to minimize road delays, and it's like to build a separate roadway because it would likely not be in the right of way. You're talking even out of that, the process to get something like that approved. Good luck.
You're not getting it from the Fed.
No.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a lot of their plans would have to hinge on national security and the executive branch giving them approvals, because that's the one thing I didn't realize in the Slick 37 approvals, that they can hit all of Space Force's orbits from Boca.
Keep an eye out in chat on Event Dude's answers to some of these questions too. He's very knowledgeable on all this sort of stuff. And sorry, Event Dudes, I don't look at chat up enough to express some of your answers already. But yeah, definitely in chat, even Discord here, keep an eye on chat and what Event Dude says. He's very knowledgeable about a lot of all this sort of stuff with the land swap stuff and the paperwork and stuff. He does a really good job keeping track of that.
Speaking of transportation, we got another question asking, is the path to the port set up to handle transporting boosters to KSC?
Well, it can take big things there. We've seen some pretty big things come from the port to Starbase.
It could.
They could
the
even
turn will be fun.
But they could even transfer them vertically, couldn't they, to the port and lay them down at the port?
They could do that too.
Well, they could transport them vertically as well.
On the barges, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
every other rocket does it that uses barges. I mean, like Glenn and Falcon 9.
Well, I mean, that's after landing. I'm talking transportation-wise. Pretty much everything goes horizontal on a ship for transport.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, I was talking about after launch. Yeah, of course. Yeah, thanks for that.
I mean, they could if they wanted to. I just don't know. The handling of those barges, because I mean, the huge freighters, I think some of them are probably up 80 meters above waterline.
And there's nothing overhead in this canal, and over at Florida, there's nothing overhead, is there? They'd be able to actually get them in, wouldn't they? Vertically, if they were vertical on a barge.
I mean, if New Glenn made it into, they shouldn't have much. Yeah, it's more of the weather forecast for the path, if it's the route, if it's worthwhile.
For wind, you mean?
Yeah, and swell.
It's quite a quite a large vessel to be standing up, vertically swaying around in the wind, rocking backwards and forwards, I guess.
It's not very heavy, so there's that, but it depends on the width of the barge. And
I just had a vision of the booster rocking almost over to beyond 45 degrees on the barge, getting rocked back and forwards. That'd be funny. Hey, I wonder if that rail question came from. Remember that rumor? There was some rumor going around about a rail system for the. Remember that for the ship and booster between the sites? That was kind of funny.
oh, I forgot about that. I'm very angry with you right now.
I could even take this shortcut through here. Look. All right. Okay. Any keep going with the questions if there's more, or I'll move on.
That's everything at the moment.
Okay, where are we up to? Multiple storage, concrete batch plant and multiple storage sites. I'm loving your list. That's awesome. That's really, really handy to have a little bit of a mud map to go along. Go by. Now, the concrete plant. Once again, I didn't do my homework this morning. I apologise. I thought we had
a connector road.
There it is.
There it is.
Yeah, time's going well. This show's going really well, Mac, aren't you? Doing well, getting this all organised. I know it wasn't just you, but you were pretty well the backbone of getting this show going. So yeah, good on you.
Thank you, ma'am.
And yeah, it's enjoyable. I'm having fun. You other two commentators seem to be having fun, so good stuff. So the concrete plant's probably not quite as busy of recent compared to when they were pouring the Gigabay concrete, but still there's bits and pieces of concrete going ahead here, there and everywhere. And I guess in the near future it's going to be very much used when and if they redo Highway 4, because I imagine they'd redo it in concrete.
It's going to get real busy for Pad 1 as well once they start redoing that concrete.
True.
Pilings, the wall, it'll be busy again. It's just not needed at the moment.
I look like they did the port connector road in concrete too, so which is a good thing. So I'm not sure what to talk about at the concrete plant other than there it is. It's not that busy now. I mean, I think most people have a fair understanding of how concrete and concrete batch plants mix, but you got cement and aggregate and some sand and some water, mix it all together and you got yourself some concrete.
Yeah, this looks fairly close to almost a portable plant.
Yeah, and we got probably some water and probably some additives. You can always add quite a few different additives you can add to concrete to make it do different things. And we've had additives where we can pour concrete underwater. I've laid concrete footings underwater to put up we were using sheet piles basically, but setting them in concrete rather than driving them deep down in the ground. Just for a little private dock, for a little private, houseboat type thing on a lake, on an inland lake. Quite a good project. In the concrete pool industry, we had additives and different mixes for making it set and making it set quickly and making it sticky so we can pour it vertically. Of course, with concrete pools, it's always spray-crete, so you don't have a front formwork. You just spray concrete into the steel mesh and it just stays there vertically by sheer power of magic of concrete. Most days it stays there. Some days it doesn't. That's not a good day. Okay. Storage sites. We already saw a couple of storage sites. Sorry. I think someone's going to say something. The ASU stuff is still sitting over here as one of the other storage sites in the inverted quotes. ASU stuff. Did I say ASU? Yeah, ASU stuff.
Yeah. Not needed yet, but soon.
Very soon. Yes.
We'll eventually be getting some port to pad closures. So, eventually.
Yeah, the low pressure column is still not here yet.
So I guess we might leave that for another day. We could go into quite a bit of detail about the whole ASU unit as well. So part of this show is to sort of deep dive into some of these other systems that we don't necessarily do on the in much detail on the weekly live streams. So we're quite open to deep dive into any of the systems that go on here. In between Alex and Ryan and myself doing a bit of Googling in the background, we can pretty well cover most things at Starbase nowadays.
You're not the only person doing Googling in the background. I confess to it.
And
Well, that's what it's there
Event Dude's
for.
just added in the chat that there's supposed to be another 2 more plants up the port connector for Magic Valley Concrete and Ready Mix, but he hasn't seen any movement for them yet.
Along the connector road, not on Highway 4 necessarily, but within the vicinity, I guess. Down the road a bit. Up the port connector. Oh, yeah, cool. The horizontal tanks. Maybe one of them is going to Massey's. Would that be a possibility?
No,
Zach
I don't see
brought
where
up
it
a
would go.
good. They're probably, if we could see another end, we could tell a better methane for the tank farm, placing the skinny hot dog tanks.
Yeah, those could be for replacing all those skinny hot dog tanks. It's just they haven't torn out the old ones yet.
Yeah.
Which if I were them, I would do it now. Because if they're going to do that, simply because it's still going to be a bit till you launch Flight 12, unless you want to do it in between Block 3 flights. I honestly would think now is the best time to do it.
I think he meant Massey's, because there's a spot for a second tank at Massey's too, isn't there?
Don't recall one at Massey's.
I don't think they need 2 of those at Massey's. That's a lot of. They don't really.
They didn't drill piles for that yet.
Yeah.
Oh, they didn't. That's right. Sorry, I remembered wrongly. Then I thought they had actually, but no, they didn't. That's true. Yep.
What 1 or 2 of those could they be for the ASU too?
Possibly.
Because yeah. The only thing I can think of is they use them to replace all the small CH4 tanks at the launch site, which you would think they would want to just get over with at this rate.
Yeah, they've had a lot of use for their plumbing expertise recently.
Yeah, maybe they haven't started that yet because they're still trying to finish plumbing for other things.
I mean, I think this methane farm is finally just about done.
Yeah, it might be kind of the thing like the isolation and purging and the pre-press, the switching area at Pad B. Basically, they'll start it once all the pad construction people are available. Like once Massey's is finally done again, and Pad 2's QD arm is good to go with all of its piping and everything, they may go, okay, we're going to start disconnecting these pipes because they should be able to disconnect the small ones, and then with the two bigger ones, and then the 2 really big ones, they should still have enough methane for a launch, with enough to spare. So they might just be waiting for a moment when everyone's available so that they can knock it out as quick as they can. Maybe that's why I haven't done it yet.
I think it's all just their order of operations. What does the schedule have? Because the isolation and purging section, this last incident seems to have derailed some of that work.
So maybe once Pad B is operational, and all the piping for it is done, that team will then head over to there and start dismantling it rather than cutting it up like they did with the other parts. They'll actually start dismantling it and taking out those tanks.
Yeah, I mean, all of them have their bypass valves, so they just need to drain them and warm them up, and so. But those shouldn't be that big of a deal to remove.
Hey, here's a way to drain them. Launch. Although I don't know if they'd want to wait another 2 to 3 months to do that.
Flame stack.
I mean,
but I mean, like take out those tanks, knock that wall down, take them all out, bring it, redo the pilings, redo the mounts, and then bring in those 3 big tanks and slide them all in right there. And then, which all 3 would fit perfectly, and there might even be enough room to spare for because once those 3 tanks are in and hooked up, that's enough for a launch, or close.
Yeah.
Which means they can then disconnect the rest of the methane and move the other 2 large tanks over and consolidate all of it if they really wanted to do that.
Do we know if these tanks are the same size as those tanks?
They look like it.
Yeah, okay. But okay. They don't have the eyebrows, though. Oh, yeah, they do.
I think they do. I think they do. Yeah,
they do. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
these are the charts.
those tanks each, I don't know how much methane they can hold, but each of them is 950 cubic meters of volume.
Yeah.
So 3 of those of methane, that should be enough for launches. And then with those in, they can redo the entire methane tank farm.
Well, the only thing that I find interesting, they left the one part of the berm on the last 2 large methane tanks. It's like, aren't you far enough away from the pad that berm should be?
It's not even pointed that way either.
No,
it's around 0.4. It's liquid density of methane.
It's volumetric, rather than
400 kilos per cubic meter.
But
that's like.
And it varies, obviously.
Maybe they left that part of the berm just because they just didn't feel like dealing with it right now. I mean, they have everything they need to take it out. They've got the jackhammer and the dozers to take it out in an instant if they want to. Which, I mean, it wouldn't take that long to do it.
Yeah.
Well, they're still sort of using it at the moment. So here, they're actually still using that, or not using the tanks, but using the area at least for now.
Yeah, no, they're still using. I mean, those are methane trailers they're offloading.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That they're using this area. I'm not sure whether they're using these actual tanks at the moment, but they're definitely using the areas. Is the reason why they haven't pulled this wall down yet.
Yeah, I mean, if we had a different view, we could tell.
It would just be nice for them to get. I just want all the methane tanks that are there in that picture. I want them all gone.
Yeah,
I want all those to go, and then they keep the 3 new big ones that they've got. If they're going to use those for methane, and then the other 2 big ones, and then that should be enough for. Is that enough for 2.5?
Yeah.
And then there you go. You're condensed. You're done. That's your methane. It'll all be in one area. That's it. And then they can, if they want to, on the other side, they can just bring in a bunch of more of those horizontal tanks and just add locks and LN2 till you get 2.5 launches worth in that tank farm, and boom, done. You're good.
Alex, is that methane fill going on there?
Yeah, it's all phosphate. Okay. That's all. Yeah, it's going to the top fill.
Yep. So my next question was, do they use this spot to fill these tanks? And will that kind of answer that question, doesn't it?
Yeah, if you follow the pipe, you can see where it crosses over.
Oh, is that it there, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, it goes down and then kind of goes, and then it goes back or something.
Yeah.
I don't remember where it goes from.
Yeah, I can follow the frost. There's some frost there, I think. There's frost along here. Then turns a corner here. And it's
there's a reason.
I'm
There's
doing
a
a
reason
Ryan one right now.
why. There's a reason why most of
Oh,
this
new.
hasn't been torn out yet, because they're
Yeah.
still using a lot of it for the methane. And if they can redo it all, if they can tear out all that and and condense all the methane, the pulp vent will go. That tank might go, and then a lot of the extra piping that's alongside Highway 4 there will go. Then they can go ahead and dig up all the underground piping. They can destroy the Lego pad, destroy most of the other stuff here, and then redo it all if they want to, which is I think what they'll do. I don't see why they wouldn't.
They're not going to destroy the Lego pad till they need to. Why be proactive like that?
Right.
Pretty thick, eh?
Yeah, but
So I've got a question to annoy Alex. Can I do it? Can I do it? It
Do it.
says, when might they stop doing the pad avoidance maneuver?
they don't do a pad avoidance maneuver.
So I know that's a question that you don't like.
But it's a fiction. I mean, they're doing they start their pitch right as they're leaving the pad.
It's a pitcho maneuver, not a tower avoidance maneuver.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with avoiding the tower. It's just
What do you
every
mean? If they
rocket
didn't
does
do it, they would hit the tower.
And the new launch pad is much, and I guess the question leads on to because of the damage it does, but the new launch pad is far better suited to handle the plume when it pitches over.
When it
Again,
pitches over, the plume will just hit the trench. That's all it will do.
Yeah, it's never been a pad avoidance maneuver. If it was an issue, they would wait, 10 seconds later to start their pitch. But performance reasons, I think it's easier for them to start as soon as possible.
Yeah, especially when you're dealing with the close efficiencies that SpaceX are chasing in the end of the day. So something came up before you were saying about the launch cadence, one a chip a day or whatever, but that would include all of the sites, wouldn't it, rather than just one site? So just that was the question about using offshore launching. But I don't think personally, that my answer to that question about offshore launching is I don't think it's necessary, as logically difficult as it is.
Like, they launch a Falcon 9 every 2.5 days right now.
Yeah.
That's their cadence. And they have 3 pads. One of them is the ironic thing is the beefiest pad is the longest turnaround time. That's 39A. There's reasons as to why it is. I don't remember off the top of my head, but there's reasons to why it is the longer turnaround. But either way, SpaceX is going to have 5 Starship pads. They can already do 2.5 days on a vehicle that was not really designed to fly that much. Not when they originally conceived of the Falcon 9. It was never designed to go this far. It really never was. They were able to refine it and get it, but when they originally made Falcon 9, it was not made to do this. Starship is made to do this right from the get-go, right off the bat, and the pads they're designing are made to do this right off the bat. I would not be surprised if they get to that cadence, but they got 5 pads now. They'll have 5 rather than 3. And eventually even more than that. They'll likely get to they're going to have a Vandy pad most likely at Slick 6. So they'll get them to 6 pads and then
Straight pad.
Maybe. And then the other thing is if the environmental works out, because right now they're kind of stuck in an environmental hole at LC-49. If any of that works out, the plan was to build 6 towers at LC-49. Don't know how many launch towers and catch tower it was, but the rumor was 6 towers. So they're going to have pads for days.
Wait, wasn't it 2 towers? Oh, sorry, that's a different thing.
The thing with Florida, though, that is fairly congested airspace, and they're going to have to get the reliability up before they start getting granted licenses for that many launches.
Yeah, that's the other part of it is right now they're only approved for 146. Well, no, they're not even approved for 146. They're approved for it's like only 100 right now because they haven't the 39A's final EIS hasn't come in yet.
Yeah, it's only 37 that's approved there.
37 and then Boca, technically.
Yeah.
Technically.
Yeah. I think Boca will be a lot busier in the future than they let on to.
Yeah, things will change, and it looks like under the current administration, it's kind of easier to get some of these approvals, I guess. Just quickly going back to chat, someone just said, it was a blood artist saying, I'm such a big SpaceX nerd. Now I feel like a fool. I should know some of these things. I should have known that. But yeah, no, I feel that every time I come online, don't worry, I'll get that myself. It's fine. As much as we learn about SpaceX, I learn stuff every day about it. So yeah, that happens. That's no worries. One for Ryan. Would it be worth using some of the piles from the original Pad 1? I think we've covered this a couple of times in some of the live streams, but go ahead.
I mean, they'll reuse some of them because otherwise, what? How deep do those go, Alex? Do you remember? I don't even remember at this point how deep some of them go.
30 to 40 meters, I think, was the original.
Yeah.
Cast in place. Yeah, most of them they'll reuse. I'd be shocked if they didn't.
I mean, they'll add a metric ton more of them as well, obviously, in all the areas. But and I guess it gets the answer to that question I hear most effectively answer is that whatever's in there, they just engineer into the new plans. That whatever's there or not, and whatever length is there or not, they know what length is there. That's pretty well modelled. They'll just engineer what's there into their final draft for this construction, and obviously they'll add a lot more as well. And they should line up. I mean, it wasn't in this area. Were the pile placings critical in this area in the launch pad too?
Yeah, yes and no. I mean, for CFAs, they like doing a nice tight grid. Here, most of the piles they added after Flight 1, they were sort of constrained to where they could drill, so that's why they're a bit haphazard. Because they had to avoid the existing, the two different culverts, the main cryogenic and the ship one, and the power infrastructure. But a lot of that, you bridge it in your pile cap between your load points.
And a lot of those restrictions will be gone because they're going to remove the culverts and that. Well, they'll probably remove the electrical too, I'd imagine, for Tower 1 as well.
Yeah, everything's going to get redone.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the primary ones for underneath, they have enough bearing capacity with what they have currently. It's for the walls, they're going to have to add some. For the support bunkers, they're going to have to add some. And all the propellant lines, especially since they're deciding that, they don't want them floating on the ground. So for uplift, they're putting piles. So yeah. But
keep the concrete where it belongs and not over in the NSF van.
Yeah. As far as reusing, they have all the geology reports and the drill report. So the structural engineers will just recalc for what the actual carrying capacity. So, and if they can't make it work,
and also you have to take into effect they've been blasted by a couple launches.
Yeah, that doesn't matter. Concrete doesn't care, especially once they chop it down.
Deep enough, yeah.
Be chopping off, 10 meters. So
dig it all out. Put in all the sheet piles, or at least drill all the other CFAs that you need to. Then put in all the sheet piles. Then start digging out and do the tiebacks again. And it'll be a process.
If they want to do soil mixing before drilling,
Yeah, I
But,
forgot about
yeah.
that part.
I mean, they're just using it for a plug underneath the trench to keep it from groundwater from inundation. But yeah, that's the only downside. They can't do what they did at Massey's, where it's trench, where it's a lot easier and faster to use the large drill rig when you're doing the soil mixing rather than jet grouting. But to get around the existing piles, and in the case of Pad B with all of the wick drags, they had no other option than using jet grouting.
Yeah, so it'll be a bit. Yeah, that'll be a bit of a pain trying to get around everything that's existing there too. That's not going to be fun.
Yeah, except that's what one of the selling points for jet grouting is you don't have to mix the entire soil column like you do with the techniques I used at Massey. It's just you drill down to the depths you need, and then you just mix in that layer. So there's pros and cons of both.
Yeah, they're built very differently, aren't they? The Massey's flame trench, but Massey's flame trench also has nowhere near the forces involved as the orbital launch pad, though, obviously.
I mean, it's deeper, so your lateral earth pressure is probably higher on this one. The earth pressure is probably more so than, because if you think about it, the soils that you dig out for the trench exceeds the weight of the vehicle stack. So the ground it can hold the load. It's not that it's spreading it with the friction on the piles, just because if it sinks, you want it to sink at a uniform rate. And when people like, oh, just put more piles in, connect the tower cap to that. Well, the issue you have is now you're making a bridge, and how thick do you make that? And if you can't guarantee your foundational sink or raise it's a consistent rate across it, you're just causing it to crack and to distort, which won't solve your problem. The solution is to look at your geology and add a sufficient number of piles as you need and drill them as deep as necessary.
Very good. I guess that answers that question. Got any other questions for us there in chat?
Yeah, we had a good one come in from Ben Vision. He says, it's pretty clear they dump a lot of water into the wetlands with the new deluge. What are they risking legally by not mitigating that fully?
They have a permit for doing that.
Yeah.
So risking nothing then.
And they have their token. They also have their token pond. It's their token pond to say, "Hey, we did it. We built one. We built one."
That dime-sized
Isn't that one of the
pond?
reasons they've got to use?
Yeah, right.
Isn't that one of the reasons they got to use potable water too, though? Because some water
It
does
is.
end up out here.
Yeah, that's why they have to use potable and not processed water. Or if they do use process, they have to have a full water chemistry report, so that you can say what exactly it is you're spraying in.
So it's all covered legally between the wildlife people and SpaceX. They've got their own little agreements and permits and what have you for all that to be quite okay. But it is a good question. You can actually see where it's been going over there too in places.
But the contaminants coming in from just rainwater washing Highway 4 is probably an order of magnitude higher than their deluge is adding any sort. But there's nothing in their combustion gas that's really that bad.
Yeah, they're not dripping oil and stuff like that like cars do on the highway.
Yeah, and the amount of iron, chromium, and other that you're blading off of the stainless steel is fairly trivial as well in the scheme of things. But yeah, you don't have any of the oils, and that's one nice thing with this program. They're not using any of the hypergolics. They're not using any of the really less, easy to work with substances.
And once again, Event Dudes came up with some really nice answers in chat there, so I really appreciate that, Event Dudes. Good on you.
You're making me want to look at chat.
So, Matt, I'm kind of on the part of the show, I think, where we're just sort of bouncing off questions for now, unless there's some other topic we want to cover particularly. But for now, keep going through the questions, and we'll see what happens after that.
Yeah, I mean, we really only have one other question, and it's really an easy one. I could probably field this one pretty well. It says, what do you think about having shielding around ships and boosters during testing? And honestly, over at Massey's, they do a little bit of shielding and kind of cage work around some of the test articles. And then, I mean, over here, we've got, blast walls and shielding on the tower and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, they don't really expect a lot of boosters and ships to be exploding either. So building like a whole, containment system for them just doesn't seem very smart or feasible.
Yeah, it's also how strong are you going to make it? So are you going to test the ship in essentially a missile silo in case it blows up?
Yeah.
It's you have a percentage that an estimated failure rate that
I think they mean the ship itself, like removable. I guess I'm like on the static power stand here. I'm wondering if they make like this sort of this frame sort of system, but actually shielding around the actual ship itself rather than. So what they've done instead is shielded the ground support equipment rather than shielding the ship. I think it's what you. I think you're answering it as well, there, Alex, as well.
Yeah, because I mean, if you look at that blast wall, it's about a meter thick, and you move that around the stack fire stand. The vehicle is high enough in where all the propellants are. You just don't see how feasible it would be to build a giant a tube. I mean,
yeah, I think there's definitely logistical limitations there for that. I mean, it's a good idea in theory. I mean, we come up with a lot of things in theory during our live shows and show and tell shows and that. And sometimes they do it, sometimes they don't.
Yeah. Other than that, we don't have any other questions.
Okay, there's a thank you for Webby for answering questions. Answering one of the questions that came earlier that you answered. I think it was to do with the water mitigation. I think. What was it? Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's one of the questions anyway. I can't remember now. So what's our time frame? So we're kind of new in this show, so I'm not sure how long we want to continue the show or whether we've sort of done enough for this week and start tallying up some questions for next week. I'm sort of happy with that. Matt, I'll sort of let you lead that part of the show right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we're 10 minutes away from 3 hours, so I mean, we could totally wrap it up.
All right, well, let's do that, and we'll tally some questions for next week. So whether we start a new channel in the Patreon or whether I'm not sure how we go about tallying questions from the public, but sure, we're open for suggestions for topics and questions for next week. So I'll start thanking people. Once again, I thank Matt for having a lot to do with setting this up. And I know it's a bit of a teamwork, but Matt has done 90% of the work to get this show going today. So well done, Matt, and thanks for being the producer and turning the knobs and pushing the buttons and all that stuff. You've done well. And the intro and the outro.
It is my pleasure. Happy to be here and happy to help.
And Ryan, it's always fun to have you on the show. You and Alex together. It's a really nice dynamic. I always enjoy working with you two together. So thank you very much, Ryan. And I guess I should thank NSF every now and again for allowing, I know they allow you to come and work with us, but anyway, obviously there's some agreement. Yeah, I know. You just show up. It's good. So yeah, thank you, Ryan.
It's a pleasure as always, Stephanie.
And Alex, once again, thank you for your explanations and patience with us all that have to learn all this physics stuff. I really appreciate your knowledge. So thanks once again.
All good. And yeah, you speak space stuff long enough, Ryan will just wander in. So.
Yeah, true. Which is quite okay. So, chat,
Great
thank you
to
very
do.
much. I was really happy with the turnout in chat, and I was really happy with your questions and the interaction. We had a bit of interaction, so awesome with that as well. And Patrons, we had a pretty good turnout in Patreon as well. So, thank you all, Patreon members. And don't forget, out there in the general public, if you become a member or a Patreon member or a YouTube member, you can join in these conversations a lot more. And personally, since doing that, I've had nothing but it's always been a good time in those shows, asking questions and so on, and then eventually becoming presentator, obviously. But just joining the channel was a really good experience on my personal behalf.
Yeah, and real quick, I just wanted to remind everybody that December 21st, this weekend, is our 4th annual St. Jude's fundraising stream. We're going to have lots of special guests. We've got Marcus House is going to be sending us in a video. Ryan Weber's going to be there. We've got Lewis from NSF or Lab Padre. We've got Tim Dodd from Everyday Astronaut. He's going to be there. And Scott Manley as well. So it's going to be a really cool stream. It's going to be a lot of fun. We hope you all show up and hang out with us.
Absolutely. And I think that's right. Joe was saying that Jared Isaacman's going to match the donations again. So that's well done, Joe, for setting that up for the show. That's awesome. Well done.
Indeed, looking forward to it. Hopefully, we can break our goal this year.
And obviously, thanks to the RGB Aerial Photography for their wonderful images and the opportunity and their wonderful channel and giving us the opportunity to talk and become a community. I think they've done very well, and they're harbouring, I personally think, quite a lovely little community. I have nothing but positive things to say about the RGB Aerial Photography Discord channel in our community. It's really nice people and some nice informed people. And I know there's a lot of people that hang around and listen and ask questions, and like myself, still have so much more to learn. But these are sort of the channels that are really good for getting that job of learning done. So I guess I'll sign up and shut up and let everyone go back to their evening. So thank you very much for your time today and your attention, and we'll see you next week for another episode of Beyond the Pad, episode 2. Thank you. Love you. Bye.